Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Come in just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up.
Hey everyone, how are you? I legit just woke up. Oh my gosh. Um, hey Scarlett. Hey Jariah. Hi Queen Olive Ruthann. It's nice to see you. Hey everyone, please hit that like button. So I promise to you that Avriel will not be forgotten. Her name will forever be remembered. And today we are talking with Angela, her cousin again, and we are going to talk about Avriel and her life and celebrate
Yeah,
her life. So that's what we're doing today. Hey Angela, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Just
So
got some pizza.
I know it's crazy right now for all of you. So you just wanted to um keep Avriel's name out there so that she's never forgotten, and you wanted to come talk about what a beautiful person she was and a beautiful hey lady, just what kind of beautiful soul she was so that people don't forget who she is.
So I was me and her father are thick as thieves since we were little kids, and when I was about 15, 16, they were getting ready to have Avriel, and they asked me if I would be willing to help babysit. So of course I was ecstatic. I've always loved babies, and from the very first time I held her, I was just captivated with this little girl. that had these enormous blue eyes and just the easiest smile. And when I say taking on a newborn as a 16-year-old seems just insane to me as a mom. But she was the easiest baby, like just calm and always laughing and very smart. And I see a lot of that in her son. I call him Little Chunk because he is a little whopper. And growing up, there was a lot of moving around because her dad was in the military, and then her mom and dad split up. And like I said when I did the interview with the news, Avriel was not the type of person or child or even woman that let things get her down and keep her down. She might be bummed out, she might be down on her luck, but she was going to feel that feeling and move on from it and find a productive way forward. She just did not take no for an answer, and she got what she wanted. She took life with both hands. Um, and in school, I know she had a little bit of difficulty, and I know her parents had mentioned, her stepdad and her mom specifically had mentioned having a rough and troubled relationship. But I have teenagers, so what teenager doesn't present issues? Um, and
Yeah, now over here, she's 16, and I'm like, no.
yes, it's insane. So Avriel, in spite of it, never gave up. Like her relationship with her father, he always lived, kind of out of state, Washington State and Tennessee, and he is a really gifted welder, and his job has taken him to places that did not make him easily accessible as a parent. But she never let those things cloud her judgment, and she never let anybody bad mouthing either of her parents in any way affect how she gave them chances, because I know as a parent we are not always perfect. But Avriel never looked at either of her parents as if they owed her anything, or that they should feel bad for anything that they had done. And I know a lot of teenagers are like that. Everybody has their ins and outs of their parents, but Avriel
Yeah,
literally was the quickest person to forgive and move on from those things. Um, it can be a character flaw or a character asset, but I really believe that just having experienced her as a child and then growing into teenage years and then subsequently becoming a mom, she was literally modeling the type of thing she expected from people. She gave as good as she got, and then she fought for things that she loved. And it's just a testimony to the type of person she was. She loved hard, and she gave a lot to relationships in order to cultivate and make them work in any circumstances. Um, and then when she got pregnant, I remember the first post that she posted about being pregnant, and it was literally about a year ago, just recently, that she had found out. And she was just like, this is going to be so hard, but I'm ready. And that girl put her nose to the stone and did the work. She made sure she was buying stuff for the baby ahead of time, planning a baby shower, making sure she had finances and a place to stay. And, I don't know a lot of young moms that take that bull by the horn, so to speak, and jump on it without some kind of support system. And yes, she has a great support system, but at the same time,
especially that young. She
yes,
was
and
18 when she got pregnant, or 19. She was
she
18.
was 18. Yep.
Mhm. Yeah, especially that young. They don't
Or
take the
19,
bull by the
19?
horn
No,
like
she might have been 19, but yeah, she just, she wanted to buy things for him. She wanted to be the one that was providing for him. She just knew that was her responsibility. Nobody had to tell her. Nobody had to encourage her. She just talked about at the vigil. The preacher she had been living, an 18-year-old's lifestyle, 19-year-old's lifestyle, living free and jolly. But she immediately was like, no, this is not the type of mother I'm giving my child. I'm going to make a difference. And I really feel like in her relationship with Michael, that was the turning point where she was setting boundaries. And that's something grown women, I myself am 36 and I still struggle to lay down boundaries, but she literally put down boundaries like this is not acceptable behavior. This is not something I condone around my child. We're not going to continue doing this. And like I said, she had a limited contact with her father, but she, even though it was probably going to be received some type of way, because what father really wants to, hey, you haven't called in a couple months and now you're telling me you're pregnant, you know, um, she didn't hesitate. She just put it all out there like, hey, I'm pregnant. We're gonna baby shower and you're gonna come, right? And whether or not they had, the best of relationship prior to what happened to Avriel is bygones, in my opinion, because she loved both of her parents very much. And um, oftentimes, she she was forgiving of things that I just applaud her for because it takes years and years to cultivate that kind of self-assuredness where you can see somebody's fault and accept them at their level. You
Mm-hmm.
know, a lot of teenagers have these grandiose expectations of their parents of being perfect people. And sadly to say, this parenting thing doesn't come with a handbook. And something I actually said to Avriel when the baby was teething, she said, I feel like I don't do enough. Like I'm doing everything, but he's still crying. And
Yeah.
I'm like, honey, this doesn't come with a handbook. You wing it. Like your eyeliner, you wing it.
Hi, Angela. This is Lady V. I said the same thing too. When I had my kids, I was like, "Oh, good Lord!" My mom told me the same thing.
Yeah, it doesn't come with a handbook. There are no directions. There's no reset button.
Nope.
And like the preacher was saying about Avriel, she put in so much effort into working herself out. Um, I don't judge anybody by their faith or press an agenda of any faith, but Avriel chose Christianity and she was going to church. She was praying and she was trying very hard to make sure that she was giving her child the mother that he deserved. And I feel like it's very evident in the type of mom she was because of the type of baby he was and is. He is just the smiliest little baby. And she was completely enamored with him.
I could, the thing, Angela. Christy did a really nice tribute to her with the pictures and everything you guys sent. And when I see her holding that baby, you can just see the love in her eyes. She just looks like she's absolutely in heaven when she's holding that baby.
Which is a big reason for 4 months she literally did not put him down. And it came down to a conversation that she had with the pediatrician at his like 4 month checkup. And she called me. I have 10 kids. I'm like the go-to family member when people have baby questions. And she was like, the pediatrician says his trunk isn't as strong as it should be, and then I need to, reinforce tummy time. She was like, but he's so mad. He's just so angry and he's screaming and I just want to pick him up and make him happy. And I was like, baby girl, you just got to let him work it out. He's never going to learn to crawl if you keep holding him. And she was like, I would carry him everywhere. I said, one day he's going to be too big to carry. And she was like, heck, what are you talking about? He's already too big to carry. Because,
I did the same thing with my kids. I always carried them around all the time and everything too. It's like especially with your first one, it's natural, but
you shouldn't have to
it's
put
like
him
they're gonna
down.
grow up fast enough, And our boys, they used to like sleep with us because I nursed, and they slept with us, and then they got to where they didn't nurse all the time, but my husband's on my mom. She's the old school. She's like, you need to put them in their bed and let them sleep, and that didn't work out too good because we kept going in there and getting them and bringing them into the room. Angela's bell.
She dropped. She'll come back. I'm trying to upload the video that I made, the one you were talking about. But you know what? Whenever I played it, it like didn't have the baby at the end, the baby where I played the video of him laughing and stuff. For some reason, it hadn't played.
Yeah, no, I don't remember seeing that. I just remember seeing her sitting there holding the baby.
There she is. Okay, I wanted to make sure it was off before I put you back up.
Yeah,
Hey,
my bad.
anyway, it didn't work out too good because we kept going and getting them and bringing them in bed with us. And I figured, they can learn to sleep in their bed. And then, when they wake up or whatever, they can come into our room and they'll get out of it sooner or later. And that's what happened. And, you got to enjoy those times while you can.
Yeah, I definitely. I was a co-sleeper. Avriel co-slept sometimes too. I know it's not recommended. I'm not saying anybody should co-sleep. Don't hang me up to dry. But I personally co-slept with my children because I nursed as well, and I feel like if you can to have that connection with your children, you really should foster that. It gives a
Yeah, it
really
makes them more
strong.
secure. Yeah,
Yeah,
it makes them feel secure, in my opinion, anyway.
and that's like something, Avriel and I had discussed a couple of times. But she, was really making an effort to do the right things with her baby, which I would, like I said, I was super proud of her. Um, and like even down to like trying to make sure that like he didn't get exposed to cell phones. I know I see a lot of people, even with little babies like 5 months old, putting shows on their phones. And Avriel was the type of mom that wanted to get down and play with him and take
Oh
pictures
yeah.
of him while he was engaged,
Oh,
and just something to be proud of. She was a good mom, and it's just tragic to me that her son gets to live with stories of her instead of memories that he's made with her.
Yeah.
Um, but the family, I know our family, we have a huge family, and um, I know they will definitely remind him of her always. I mean, just to be able to talk about her and say her name, because that keeps the memory alive for people. And that's not something any of us plan on not giving to junk, it's just, you never expect it to happen to your family. And, I feel like there's always some lesson that we can learn from these life experiences. I'm not ready to have learned this lesson, and none of us in this family are. Um, but I feel like one day it's going to become a strength for us to lift her child up, to make sure that the legacy his mom was trying to achieve, this invested parent, he's going to have so many family members all over him. He's going to be lucky if he's ever alone again.
Well,
He's
and that's
probably,
how it should be. I mean, I'm sure she'll be looking down and seeing you guys and be thankful that, he has his family there with him. And I know she'll know you guys will pamper him and spoil him and never let him forget her. And, I think
talking
that's
about
wonderful.
talking about the baby. I don't know if everyone knows, but he's named after his father. His name is Michael Perry the Fourth. I was talking to Angela today, and she was telling me that they may be thinking about changing his name because
yeah.
of everything that's gone. Everything that's happened, and the fact of him having his dad's name. Um, they might be thinking of changing his name, and I just want to know um, how you guys feel about them changing his name from his father's name to a different name. And Angela had found a name that she had picked out because it starts with AV, and you'll be able to call him Av like they did Avriel, and like they will continue to do for Avriel. And it was Avon. Is that how you say it? Avon?
Oh, that's
Amen.
cute.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Aven.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Oh,
that's what she had picked out for him. So I was just wondering because I didn't even think about that whenever I knew his name. I never even thought about that until she brought it up today. And
I
I was
didn't
just,
even know his name till just now, to be honest with you, but I don't blame you for changing it. Not at all. And that name is beautiful. The one that you picked out is just gorgeous.
Yeah, I think it, gives it, and it gives a nice ring. Abe would really have liked it. Avriel would have liked it. And I know that she had other ideas for names for her son, but she really wanted to be able to give Michael. She loved him very very much. She wanted to be able to give Michael that legacy that he felt was so very important. So she never pressed for a different name, which shows again the type of woman that Averill was. She just really wanted to give
Right.
him that. It's his first son. He's been. It's his right to want. That's I guess that's how Averill thought.
That's normal. Yeah, well, it's normal. Daddies usually want them named after their kids, but he.
Well, I wasn't gonna name my kid Donald. I'll tell you that.
they all start with, did you say they all start with A? Sorry, I was reading the message.
My sisters and A names are like really popular in our family. I don't
I
know
know.
why. But my sisters are all three of my mother's kids are all A names. Averill named her dog Athena. And she had an Apollo that was a kitten, and she didn't get to keep it. And yeah, A names are, I don't know. I've got an Aryan Atlas, so maybe we're doing it. I don't know.
Shoot. Oh, Jiraiya, it means a white flower? Is that
Yes,
what it said?
it grows in the mountainous regions,
Oh,
where,
Yeah.
wow.
and we
I'll
we
look
live
up
in the
the
mountainous regions.
What a beautiful
Hey,
sentiment.
Tara's here.
Hi, Tara.
Angela,
Thank you
Tara's
again.
you guys, Tara is a psychic medium. She's really, really good, and she did a dowsing rod session for I'm trying to get her link, sorry, for Angela.
Yes.
Um Asking April questions. I don't know if you want me to play it or not, but I can. Hey Lucky! It was very telling, and it was also a little very sad.
Yeah.
Um she got
It, it,
answers that she wanted.
yeah. I
Hey,
I don't know if I want to play it. It's I had a really tough time not getting overly emotional with it earlier.
yeah, I know.
So maybe we could do it a later time.
Okay, it's up to you. It's
Yeah, it's just such a it's and because it's in reference to an active investigation, I don't know if it would be the most wise.
I
But
forgot. That's true. I forgot about that. Thank you.
yeah,
Give me straight.
definitely still an active investigation. We will not be able to plan a service for her for a couple of weeks, which I mean, it doesn't change. I don't believe that the time frame between the ceremony with somebody's vessel matters so much as when the family is able to accept and make peace with it.
Yeah.
And I'm very much a believer that you can do that um, on your own, because even after the funeral, people struggle with grief and coping with the experience. And this experience is probably like Dolly Vision was saying today. Because he was talking about the case a little bit just for a second, and he said, it's not closure yet. We've just found her, and we know that her life has ended. We don't know what happened. We don't, and some of it we might never know, but we don't have details, and we don't have anything to really settle our minds around. And then after we do, it's still a matter of a case and an imminent trial, and that could take a long time. I mean, it depends on how things go as smoothly. If the cosmos are going to align for a swift and speedy trial, I mean, these we do live in Virginia, so with the death penalty was removed under Northam, and we have a new administration, but that still doesn't reinstate the death penalty. So it will be a possibility that this young man, is 21, could see the outside world again, and that in and of itself, if that comes to fruition, then we're going to have to live with that the whole time the baby's growing up, and basically for the rest of our lives, knowing that there's a possibility that this young man will age out of his sentence and
How old is
be
he
free.
now?
21.
21.
Whatever
Well,
happens
let's hope
depends
he's
on
nice and
him.
brave when that happens.
I can assure you that if he sees freedom, he will not see the baby. I mean, by then he'll be probably a grown man, and be able to make his own decisions. But this family will do any and everything to protect that child from ever having to face the person that did not love either of them enough not to do harm to his mother.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. I don't blame you. In my opinion, I don't think he should ever see light of day again.
Like, I don't understand why he want to put on Facebook, oh, I miss my wife and I need my wife and my kid and blah blah blah. Then was there in his car when they were searching in the woods. Like, are you really serious, dude?
Yeah, he was extremely, I feel very confident in himself. Like he was, like maybe he has a God complex or something. I'm not a psychologist. I just give real good feel on people. And he's got bad energy, just really bad energy. And I, I really feel like if he gets free, then karma is coming for something bigger for him. Like I don't feel like the universe is so unjust in ways that you don't ultimately pay for something you've done so heinously. This
Right.
was not, oh, I wrecked my car and she was killed. No, this was a malicious act of absolute violence and rage. And, he had the baby the next day, so it's only fair to assume that the baby was with him when this happened. Uh, Babies are born with a completely smooth brain,
Yeah.
and every event, every conscious and subconscious thing that goes into a child's brain from
Yep.
0 to 3 years old is mapping the pathways of his brain.
You're absolutely right.
I just beg and plead, if anything, he was not, that it wasn't something that was loud or traumatizing, because that's something that will present this to this child in his adult life that he's going to have to deal with, that he has absolutely no knowledge of. There's no way to make right with that.
No.
So it's so unfair. It's like, how in the world could you ever look into the eyes of a woman that gave you a child and not be able to separate yourself from whatever else you're thinking or feeling and say, I have to preserve this person because it is in my child's best interest? Anybody who could.
Angela, I'm sorry, excuse me. Tara said that she's gonna do another. She said, um, I will do another reading tomorrow for Angela, and then she says, "How is the family doing, Angela?"
I spoke with my cousin today. He is doing as good as he can. He is going to be returning to the area. He's currently residing in Tennessee, but he's going to bring an RV down and stay for a few months. We have court. The mother is going to court for custody of the baby, and hopefully in 3 weeks we'll know the outcome of that. And Jim, her father, is going to be sticking around for a few months. And it's not a possibility that he'll stick around indefinitely um, to
And
help
he's
out.
taking time off of work to do this, correct?
Yes, absolutely, he is. So it's going to be a little bit of a transition. He'll probably find something to do around here. I mean, he's a very skilled, like I said, skilled welder. He's got a couple other trades under his belt, and he's previously a Navy. I think he did like 4 years. I wouldn't want to call it a veteran, um, but he has every intention of being here to be an added hand. I mean, it's Avriel's mother, stepfather, my aunt, Jim's mom, all of our cousins, literally, and myself. We all live within a very reasonable driving distance, up to an hour away, and we're just tucking in tight. All of the family is prepared for any kind of support that's needed to band together in this time, and it just shows that, you know, even in great grief, there is still great love. And the fact that we have this amount of love for Avriel, that we can all pull time out of our lives and move things around to create more availability. It just is a testimony to the type of person that Avriel comes from, a good stock, that just everybody kind of has each other's back. It doesn't matter if they haven't spoken in years, or if they've had mixed feelings about each other. Everybody in this family is like, okay, this is something our family needs to be together. We need to be doing everything we can. And the focus shifted from, we have to get Avriel, to now we all have to make sure that this baby is afforded the type of life that Avriel dreamed for him.
Right. And I know, the best thing that you can do for Avon is to be there and love him. And I know that baby's not going to be short on any affection or love. That sounds like your family's very, very close.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say we're all close. But we all have busy lives,
But I mean, close is whenever you need somebody and they're always there, So it doesn't mean
Yeah, a lot of people don't have that family support,
right?
That you all have, and
it's definitely, it takes a lot of I guess maybe it's because it's been so normal for me, my life, that I knew that out of the blue, an uncle or an aunt could text me and, hey, how are you doing? Thought about you today. Love you. I see what you're doing in your life. I'm proud of you. And it's, they're there where it counts, is what matters.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I feel like our family has been through, a lot where, there's like, tragedies, losing people along the way. And, I've never seen a shortage of love in this family. And I feel like it's the only thing that's allowing us to get through this with any sort of grace. Because we know that someone is just literally a phone call away for us.
Right.
awesome. That's really, really awesome, because you're a phone call away from me. I told you that I was here if you needed anything, and I stick to my word, and I think I've proven that to you so far.
Oh, yes.
Karis,
absolutely.
If you need anything, I'm there for you.
Thank you, guys. I mean, honestly, I don't know what everybody believes, but I really feel like the cosmos in this entire situation had set some sort of path, for me at least, that I would be able to connect with the right people, to be able to light a fire under this, because, her mom is not like the most active Facebook user. And any mother in this situation is going to be extremely frantic. And I believe Ashley was, and didn't have a clue where to start or how to navigate it. And I was fortunate, um, through another cosmic series of events to have been friends with Kenny Gerald's from the Aware Foundation. And I was like, I've got to get them on the case. And Kenny actually shared your video about Avriel to me. And I had seen a couple of like influencers, creators, whatever, and I'd never up until that moment felt compelled to say anything. And I was like, I really have to talk to her. Like, I really have to say something to her. And then, I was like, it was just so fast. Like within 2 days, we were like in a in a search party, and finding out that there was nothing that any of us could have done to prevent what had happened. And I'm just so fortunate that there was such a wide range reached on this, because it gives me such hope for the future. I was telling my husband before this broadcast that I want to do something for Avriel, like along the lines of resources that are readily available, because I personally, didn't know certain things when I found out, when I was trying to get out of an abusive relationship. And I found out when Avriel called me how common it was for these young moms in bad situations needing to get out, and they didn't even know where to start.
Yeah, and it's the most dangerous time for them is whenever they're leaving. That's the most dangerous time. I mean, that's and I think that's one reason why it takes them so long to get out. But I believe in God, and I believe that He's going to come and help you and your family. And you're in my prayers, and I'm so
Thank you for
sorry for
that.
the outcome, but maybe some good can come up from it. I mean, I don't know what you're thinking, but I think, if there was some kind of a hotline or some kind of something
Something, a
somebody could call
website,
and say, "Hey, I need to leave. I need to leave tomorrow while he's at work," that somebody can like
send a
go over
lift.
there, yeah, somebody can go over there, help them get out and make them safe while they're doing that, because
And
that's when
I
it's
was,
really dangerous.
yeah, and I was talking to a friend of mine who lives in Virginia Beach, because that's like, I grew up there. Um, just recently about her in her personal situation and needing to leave, and she was like, I have called around. It's a very populated area, and she's like, there's no shelters. They don't have like domestic violence programs, and not just for women. Men are just as common to
Oh
be in an
yeah,
abusive
definitely.
relationship.
Yeah.
And I know, like, just knowing, like, Avriel calling me that day in June. It was right towards the end of June. She left around July 4th. She was like, I need to get out of here. I'm scared he's going to take the baby. I'm scared he's going to hurt me. And I was like, okay, you need to go down and file for custody. And she was like, wait a minute, I can't just, I'm like, no, you have no more rights to him in this jurisdiction, in this state we live in, than he does. So you have to file for custody, and you can file this and this and this. And it's like, just having the knowledge of where to start, and maybe, I don't know who I would appeal to, or if I even know how to navigate it, but making sure there was like some kind of domestic violence shelter. It is all too common for somebody who has been in a relationship like that to have been isolated from their friends and family, and they really just don't have anywhere to go.
Right. And the only places that they know to turn to are the places they've been isolated from, and those abusers know exactly where they're going to go. So
Yes.
they need a place that they can go in the interim until they can get set up where they're safe and where they can get custody of the baby and all that. I think that's a big part where we really there's a chunk hole right there that needs to be filled with something.
And I live in a county that we actually have a domestic violence shelter, and I've said that to the friend I was talking to at the beach, and she was like, why are they not available for people? I mean, I understand that it's kind of a lot of funding, but this place is ran like with social services aides, and people who want to be like, social counselors or whatever. And they take donations from the community. The house is in a safe location that is undisclosed. You can't like look it up.
Right.
Then they help them get. I mean, it's stuff that you can do on your own, like getting a government cell phone. If you want to get a government cell phone, you can apply for a government cell phone. But they really help these individuals to try to get their feet on the ground, help them. If you have Medicaid, did you even know you could get a Medicaid taxi to and from your job? And these are people that are in place to help you navigate the path out.
Yeah,
And
and babysitters while you're looking for a job, or
yes,
all
daycares that
kinds
go
of
on fixed
things.
incomes.
Do
It,
you think Avriel would have put him in a daycare, Angela?
no, absolutely not.
Exactly.
Well, no, but
She
I mean, if you have no choice, there's a lot of women out there who would need somebody to watch their babies while they're going on a
And
job,
even that's the thing,
you
like
know?
I was actually thinking about that. Like, if there were girls in, like, say it's a girls' home, whatever. If there were girls in a home that were like pregnant and unable to work or have a disability, they could then volunteer with a counselor present, because there's always a counselor in the domestic violence shelter. It would be just like a group home, like, but with people that are needing to escape, if that
Right.
makes any sense.
Yeah.
So they could use that as a way to, hey, you can earn, XYZ from babysitting as a daycare, but the person working would have to pay the people that are volunteering as daycare attendants who can't work.
Right. Right.
And I don't see why people in that type of position wouldn't be willing to work with each other, because in those types of situations, people tend to form bonds,
Oh,
especially
absolutely.
especially with people that are going through similar experiences. And I feel like that foundation right there alone would help so many more people to stay back out of those relationships.
Right. Yeah,
You
because a
know,
lot of times they have no alternative but to just turn right around and get right back into it, either because
yes,
they have no help in any shape or form, and it's sad.
it's very sad. I don't know why there are more rehab clinics than there are domestic violence shelters, when it's a voluntary basis, it's a voluntary basis to go in and get clean. And there are people that are monetizing these places as like resorts. And why couldn't these things be used to facilitate people that are getting out of abusive relationships? I
Our
mean,
city, it's not for DV, I don't think yet, but our city is buying old buildings to
yeah.
remodel. I know for like the homeless and other people too. I'm gonna have to find out if they're gonna do one, or if they even have one for domestic violence. This is a huge city. I don't even know. I don't even
And
know here.
that's a place where it really should be prevalent. And I mean, I live it's not a tiny place. Bedford County is actually pretty large, and in my opinion, I mean, land wise at least. Maybe you might know all your neighbors, but it's still a big place. We have a domestic violence shelter, and I just don't understand why, in a place as densely populated as like Virginia Beach or a big city like even Minneapolis, are there enough places to accommodate and facilitate the services that is a serious need, especially when the
Well, and there's
system is shown to fail these young women in certain situations. More common more common than not, these people that are falling victim, like Avriel did, had attempted to get some kind of help, and
correct.
then
And there's
they
so
were,
many rules and regulations and red tape sometimes that they have to go through. It's like it's crazy.
and then how do you even afford the court fees when you're a single mother?
Right.
You can't get a
Well,
lawyer.
actually, if you're a single mom, I don't know if it's like that in every state, you guys, but I know that like in Louisiana and here, if you're a single mom or on like low income or no income, they um they can waive the fees. But you just have to ask and find out, and just so that everyone knows in the future. Also, I wanted to say I didn't know. Well, okay, so the little girl that faked her friend's kidnapping and called when text 911, I didn't know you could text 911. Can you text 911?
I
Evidently, and she did it. If
I
you
think
can't,
it's 988. I think is
nine,
what it is. I'll have to look it up.
because if so,
Also,
I want to put it out there because I'm almost 45 and I've never heard of such a thing.
yeah, I
also,
didn't.
I've been putting in chat a little. I haven't done it to at this one, but I was doing it earlier today when you were on. There is a signal for help that they have a sign that you can. It's very it's very easy to remember. It's very easy to kind of work into your hand movements to where when people see that, they know you're in trouble and you need some help getting away. And it's just as easy as you could be sitting there at a restaurant and make this hand sign. And if somebody knows it, they can call law enforcement and can get you out of the situation right then and there. Because there's a lot of times that these women or even men are not out much except for when they're with their abuser.
Yeah,
And that might be the only time they have a chance to signal anybody that they need help, that they need to, get out of the situation.
yeah.
And so if Christy's okay with it, I can put the link in and have everybody just go look at that and learn it and watch it and know to call LE. Don't intervene yourself. You don't want to intervene
Put yourself
yourself,
in danger, yeah.
but or them, but call law enforcement and let them know.
I don't want to put you on a spot, but I know people might not open the link up. I don't know if you're ready, but are you able to turn your camera on and show no? Show the sign?
Oh, yes, I can.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't want to put you on a spot.
Oh, you're okay. Hold on. Okay, so you just take your hand like this, and you can be talking to somebody, and go like that.
Put your
And
hand
that's
higher.
your
Your
sign.
name's covering it. Put your
Huh?
hand a little higher. Yeah, there you go. Do it. So you just put your thumb in
So
and
when
close.
you're talking to somebody, sorry. So when you're talking to somebody, you're just like, yeah, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Just that, and pay attention to that.
You guys remember this, and especially like waitresses, waiters, people that are in public where, you know, families would go or people would go to eat out or to be around other people. And so if everyone tell everyone that so that if someone does that, everyone is aware that this is what it means because if they don't get help, they might feel discouraged and maybe feel like it's,
Well, that
not
might be the only time they get a chance, to
right. Right.
ask
That's
for
the
help.
thing. Everyone needs to know that this is what it means and, they need help.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be just for domestic violence. I mean, you can use it like if somebody kidnaps you, if
But yeah,
whatever, you're in a
perfect.
situation where you need help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Angela, I wanted to tell you real quick. I know you kept saying in the beginning, like, she's only your second cousin. Like maybe people wouldn't, listen to you or whatever because you're not a first cousin or a, you know, aunt or whatever like that. But I just wanted to let you know, um, I have an adopted sister. She's 16. Her mother took her life when she was 7.
Mm.
She is my second cousin. Her mother was my first cousin. I felt the same way. I'm also her godmother, and now I'm her sister, but I'm first and foremost her second cousin. And when I try to say that, like she's my second cousin, but she's my godchild and she's my sister, like it's very confusing. So I just think she's my sister. I don't start from the beginning, but I want you to know that I am the closest, me and my mom are the closest ones to Nevaeh out of everyone in the world. And I just want you to know that she is my second cousin. And and she's the one that, comes to me for everything and stuff like that. So just because you're her second cousin, it doesn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
okay.
I loved her so much. There's no way that, like somebody's going to trust you with their newborn and you're going to watch this baby grow, eat food, learn to walk. And then I became a mother to 10 children, there, the impact that being, and I lost a baby. I lost a baby before Avriel was born. And yes, I was young. Nobody look at me funny.
We
Um,
don't judge in here, promise.
but I did start very young. My oldest daughter will be 22 in November. And she was killed in a drunk driving accident. I was not drunk driving. We were hit by a drunk driver. Um, but, I have 10 living children. And so she would be my 11th. And to be trusted with someone else's child. I know when I first had a baby, um, I don't think I would have ever trusted anyone with my child. And my cousin and Ashley, they were married at the time, trusted me with their child, and I took that responsibility very seriously. And then if you are the type of nurturer that I've always been, there's no way not to love that child and to literally connect with them. And then my cousin and her split up, so there was an extreme effort for me to make to stay in her life and to keep in touch with her throughout the years, um, because I moved and then, Jim and her split up, and then, thank God for the internet because it made it really easy. And then when she moved to Lynchburg and she knew that I was so close, we became a lot closer. And I shared my story with her and, tried to be a good influence on her as best that I could.
Mhm.
Just because I had the experience, and I knew like this is the time where you really need someone if they're going to love you and they're going to show up when you need them.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And I just really, from the minute I woke up that morning and then I saw Ashley's post, I don't know, the frantic feeling that I needed to do something, that I could not just sit here and hope that one Facebook post and a press release was going to do the trick. Like that's not how that works.
Right.
And you see a lot of cases that don't get any attention and you only find out about them years and years later. And it's like, wow, why did I never see this in the news?
There's just so many. It's incredible. I mean, there are so many that there's no way you can keep up with all of them.
And that's why I do that around the world at least once a week or so, because everyone on YouTube talks about high profile cases, like you say, and we don't ever hear about the little things. And that's what I do on around the world, as Lady B knows, and people in chat. I go around, looking at articles and stuff like that of things that we don't ever hear about, but we
Yes.
should hear about. And I do that like once a week because it's, we deserve to know what's going on, whether it's a high profile case or not. And that's all we ever hear about is high profile cases. And then people will come in chat talking about, hey, have you heard of this? And we're like, no. And we'll go look it up. And, it's just, I will say just a little, peon or whatever, because it's not high profile and you don't hear about it. And I
It
just like
doesn't
to
make it it doesn't make it unimportant. And that's the thing, like, going through this and being so fortunate to have had people pay attention when I really needed people to see something. I just not that it's for me. It was literally just because I needed Avriel home. But just knowing that the word got out and that there was no way that if something bad like it ended up being had happened to her, that somebody wasn't going to find out because I couldn't live with it, like there, and I could not imagine the pain of families that have had to lose a loved one and go through what we've gone through, but not have their story
Yeah.
told.
Right. I can't either. Always in the back of your mind wondering if you're going to see them someplace, or I can't imagine the torment that that would be for somebody to.
I Yeah, I've actually experienced that myself. That's how I met the Aware Foundation. They came to my job one night, and I didn't really have much hope for the person that was missing. It's been missing for about 16 years, so this is so about 10 years at the time, and I didn't really have the case was cold. No leads, no nothing, and it was a grown man that just up and disappeared. Like not a lot of attention to the case, and I just approached them and was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of this case?" And they had actually heard of the case, and I got to chatting with Kenny, and he shared his story with me about his cousin, and they never caught the guy, and never found his cousin, and that's why he was motivated for this. And I was like, well, never hurts to ask, because I live with the reality of maybe that's him. I often go back to look at pictures of him holding my daughter Autumn, and just rememorizing his face, so that if I ever do walk past him in a crowd, I'm going to recognize him instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a reality for so many families out there. And it's you learn to live with it, but it's still so unfortunate. Like, I seen that poster once, say their names, and I really feel like that statement carries so much for people that have missing loved ones or murdered loved ones. You don't want anybody to forget their name. You want their life to be important and worth saying their name. And that's something, if anybody is experiencing dealing with your friends or your family or yourself in grief, I have found that it may make you sad sometimes, but in the long run, it makes you so much more full to say that person's name. Talk about them, bring them up in conversation. It will heal you in ways that you just cannot measure. And I will continue to say Avriel's name. I will continue to keep her memory alive. And any memories that people have, their stories, their pictures, I really encourage you, if you have them, if you know anybody that has them, send them copies. Send copies to the family. You can reach out to me on Facebook. I'm pretty sure everybody can find me, or reach out to Christy, and she can show you where to go. But Avriel's story is important. There are so many names to be said that are important, and families need to know that their loved ones were important.
What is that poster that you're talking about? I've never seen that.
I just put the Aware Foundation Facebook page into the chat.
They are an amazing group of people. If anybody needs to resource them, they do countrywide. They are very good about.
They're out of Arlington, Texas. Is that right?
Yeah, they have bases. They're based out of Arlington, but they have a unit here in Virginia. I know they have people pretty much all over the country with this foundation, and they are very, very good about, they're very quick about getting things together and trying to give families resources, contacting media stations and being like, have you heard this story? And really helping facilitate coverage for cases that normally don't headline. And some of them do, but they are an amazing, I cannot say this enough. They're an amazing group of people. And I just adore everyone from the Aware Foundation that has ever helped me, dance to the Cupid Shuffle with me. Shout out Kenny Gerald. He did it with a broken collarbone. And, just knowing that a lot of these volunteers, they're volunteers, have been through similar experiences, and they are there to actually connect to these families. Kenny had literally to pull over on the side of the road on the highway and just bawl when he found out that we had found Avriel. And you can't put a price tag on the type of dedication a person like that has for a family that needs it.
No, you can't.
I am
So,
very thankful that Kenny found my Facebook video. I'm not sure how he found it, but I'm very thankful. And I will tell you, you can ask Lady V and anyone close to me that I was frustrated. I was getting very frustrated and I wanted to give up, and they didn't let me. And now that, and I know, I think I told you, Angela, but now that this has happened and with Kenny and Aware Foundation, and now I'm getting in touch with Kenny and I'm, going to try to get with them and help them. So, I really, really appreciate that. Facebook's finally doing something right.
ain't it? Ain't it? I mean, I'm not the most tech savvy person, and I'm pretty sure it was Facebook, but and that just shows, like the level of dedication these individuals will go out, and do things that, the family in this time don't think of doing, like checking out like hashtag Avriel hooks to see what pops up. I mean, if anybody's talking, if anybody has said anything, if there's any posts connected to it, and they put in work that, an overwhelmed family just couldn't even imagine doing.
Right.
Um, and sharing that with me, out of all the videos, then I literally went and searched hashtag Avriel after he had sent me that video. And then I went back and watched it again. And that's when I commented. And it was just like the compulsion was so real that I needed to speak to you about it. And maybe it's your voice. It's just, I don't know if it just conveys over the phone that you have a really good aura. And Lady V, you as well. Um, it's
Thank you.
something very safe about the two of you, because I believe, you're on that first one too. Um, just, and that's the thing that people really need when it comes to cases like this, is feeling like you're coming to a safe place. These
Absolutely.
stories. These stories are not easy to cover. It takes, I'm sure it takes an emotional toll on you guys beyond anything I could comprehend. Just sharing my story is emotionally overwhelming. My story of Avriel, but just to be able to know I'm talking to people that I feel are safe, and felt that initially, immediately, even before I conversated with you. I just felt a real sense of safety there, and that is something that is going to it's going to push you forward. And I really hope that with Kenny and the Aware Foundation, that you are able to use this skill that you've got to give hope and safety to people through a very hard situation, like to tell these stories and to make people aware of what's going on, to get their nose out of their own little bubble for a minute, and really strike at the hearts of people in a way that inspires actual action. That's a gift. That's just an absolute gift.
Well, I'm so sorry that it turned out the way it did. I was just heartbroken. I know, wow, Christy, she was just beside herself. And you know what? It's hard for the people that do this, but it's nothing like the families, what they have to go through, And if we can get a face out there, a name out there, you know, that's that's such a little thing to be able to do, and to try to help in our own little
It's
way.
not little. It's not little. I promise you. Like if I had to tell you, like, I honestly know the difference it really made for you guys to do these videos and these lives, and for Dolly Vision for coming out and offering to walk the world in Natsville, as he likes to call it,
I
or
was going to ask you about
Natsburg. Look, I'm an O negative blood type. I don't know what it is really, but gnats, mosquitoes, all those, they really don't ticks. They don't bother me. Um, it maybe they just like
Oh, I just got what you meant.
Natsburg. Yeah, I'm not gonna say I didn't get a couple in my eyeball or in my mouth a couple of times, but Yeah, when I say that, that poor guy out in his yellow shirt, and I told him, I
Oh
was like,
no.
it's that, and literally, it's the construction colors. I feel so bad for anybody that works outside wearing bright yellow or orange because
Wow.
those gnats are like, ooh, beacon, and there was literally a cloud around his head.
No. Oh
And I
no.
was
Poor
like, oh,
dog.
poor guy. And the guys, it was mostly the guys too, I guess, where they're, a little, they perspire a little more maybe.
Yeah.
But good gracious, they could not get a break.
And
Yeah.
also, like, just
He's been out a
um,
couple of times trying to help a couple of people and all, and it's nice to know people care enough to do that.
Yes.
That's a
And
good
I
heart.
never would have reached him if it wasn't for you and Christy. I mean, honestly, when we did that interview with Jim and I, it literally went from 0 to 120. Like, you about to blow an engine. We are going fast. Beat me up, Scotty, because this bad boy's about to teleport. And we did. We did. And it was, I know that the combined efforts from the Aware Foundation and from the local news stations and you guys on YouTube really made things move. Michael felt the pressure with all those people so close to his home. The presence literally shook that kid.
that's
And
why
it,
he was out there in his car while y'all were searching because
yeah,
he knew.
he felt
That's
trapped.
just, that's just I'm glad that we were able to help in our little way. I wish it could have been faster. I wish we could have done more. I wish we could have, I wish. Doesn't,
Yeah, I've been beating myself up the same way. I wish I could have done this. I wish, and I told my cousin when he first arrived Friday evening, and well, he was here already, but he came to my house Friday evening, and I was like, I totally forgot to tell her to get a government cell phone and leave her GPS on and keep it concealed. And I forgot to tell her, get a mace or, a taser or something, to keep a really small blade, a concealable blade in your bra. These types of things, are things I thought of after the fact. And like I said, if there was resources available, suggestions, tips, a place for people to comment or make suggestions that are safe for
and the thing also is, these guys and women that are abusers, they're so obsessed with the person or persons, that it's so scary. Was she had already moved out though, right?
Yes, she was doing it on her own since July.
And see, that's the thing. That's where there needs to be, they need to have time in between there to go someplace where they don't know where they are, where they can
And
get
he
injunctions against them and whatever they need, so they have a safe area to go to while this is all in process.
yeah, and I feel like, if if just having the resources were so easy, it would facilitate a lot more for people in those positions. In Avriel's case, she got out. She was taking all the necessary steps, and she didn't have someone that had been through the system that was standing in court with her, like the domestic violence shelter will send a counselor to court with you to help you navigate things. And she was denied an extended PO and told to, work it out in custody court or whatever. And I know that a piece of paper wasn't going to stop Michael from what he did, but it would have given her some type of resources, just having the protection order. You can call the cops and say he's here and they're going to show up. That could really be the difference
Yeah,
between him getting away with her in the car or her, being saved in the nick of time.
absolutely.
And it's I'm angry at the court system for failing her in that way, because Michael had an extensive criminal history. It's public record, and his trial date is also public record, and it's just amazing to me that they didn't violate his parole or revoke his bond.
That is what really upsets me. You know, they should have they should have picked him up immediately when they knew they should have
And
picked.
and even under suspicion, he was not picked up. I mean, he shouldn't have been out at the time that the act was committed, because
No,
July 4th, he strangled her. Yeah, I mean, or around about the end of June, or before July 4th, maybe, or on. I mean, it might have been July 4th. I'm not actually
and
sure of the
she
date.
reported it, right?
Yes, and there were charges brought up that it's a pending case with Avriel. I mean, and that's not the only one. But at that time, he was on pretrial for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. You're on pretrial, that's probation. You should have been violated for doing bodily harm against your girl. That's just, wow.
Absolutely.
Yes,
That's
I
what I wanted to
understand.
ask. Sorry, that's what I wanted to ask you too. I have to get my questions in because I'll forget them. Someone in chat said that the second degree carries a sentence of 5 to 40 years. Now, with his long rap sheet that he already has
And a trial for the gun charge.
done right, I really don't think he'll get a low sentence. I really do think that he will get a high sentence, if not the max, because of his background and what he's done, and especially since I feel like the state dropped the ball on Averill.
Oh, yeah.
You can really can't say, because, like Angela said, a paper is a paper. If they want you, they come and get you. Whether or not, Max told me that. I don't care if
Right.
they got 10 police in front of me. I'm gonna beat your ass in front of them,
Right.
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
they don't care.
They don't, and that's some. I mean, some guys, they might get violent recklessly and be able to be deterred with that threat. I'm not saying every guy is a complete nutter, but Michael was definitely didn't have all his fries in the box, um, uh, and I just I really feel like the system did fail her, and I feel like it's an administration issue, maybe, or I don't know who even to appeal this to,
There's
because
just so many. The thing of it is, I think too, it's just there's just so many that I think the system is overwhelmed
It's
with
absolutely.
people,
necessary for the
and there's
state.
no place to put these people that are abusers. In in the meantime, so
Yeah.
they let them run the street, and then things like this happen, and it's terrible, and
And
I
I
don't know
know,
how to fix the problem.
no, me neither. And that's just, and that's, I guess that's my hope with Avriel's story, is putting it out there to young women that, or young men, that you can get out. And even when you are faced with adversity and you don't know how, we need to find a way to collect all the resources that we could find for people to make it readily available, where if they have a question, a forum or something, I don't know.
I
But
dropped Never Silence channel. He covers domestic violence, racism, LGBTQ. I don't remember all the rest. Sorry. Resources on his community wall. He does have numbers and information for those topics and others that I didn't name because I couldn't remember all of them. Bullying. It's a whole bunch of stuff. I suggest everyone go look at his channel because he really does have good information and resources to help with all those. And if everyone knows, and even like there she is. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh
Resources.
yeah. If you go look at them, copy them, and put it out there for everyone so that we need to get all this information out there. Not everybody knows Never Silent and gets all this information, and not everybody puts this information out. And I think that's the big problem too, is that no one, people are saying there's not really resources, but they really are. There really are resources. The only problem is you have to dig and dig for them. And that I think that's part of the problem is no one knows about it.
yeah, and that's the thing. You need, like, that I feel is so important about what you guys are doing and what, other missing, anybody covering missing case or, murders that are strange like this. I mean, that is a real big step in the right direction because awareness is the best tool you can have. Always looking around your environment, and knowing the resources that are available, where to find them, and nobody thinks to be prepared for these things because none of us really think it's going to happen to us. Like I said in the beginning,
Right.
you know, nobody in our family
Somebody.
ever expected it. You look at I've been swallowing it every time I get on Facebook and I scroll through my feed and I see that beautiful face of hers and I'm just like, I never thought it would be you.
We never
You know,
do. We never want to let our minds go there, and that's human. And I'm glad we have that hope inside of us. We don't want to lose that hope and believe that. But today's world, it's not safe. It's really not, especially for children and mothers. It's just not safe at all.
yeah.
I want to go back
Mm,
to the 90s. Let's go back to the 90s. Everyone
amen.
Visitor's channel right now is going back to the 90s. Let's go, everyone.
Yes,
It,
everybody, let's get a bus. We're going back.
but I have to say this too, though, living through the 70s, 80s, and 90s myself, it wasn't safe back then either, but we didn't hear as much of it as we hear nowadays because of
Yeah.
social media. You hear a whole lot more, and we need to get that information out so people don't have to dig through it, where they know
Yeah.
to
Honest, the
find it.
world was never safe. Look what happened to Jesus.
Yes, that is true.
Hey, I have
Humanity
to
in
drop down. I'm sorry. It's my grandchild's birthday. I need to go say hello for
Oh,
his
okay.
birthday.
Thanks for coming up,
Bye,
lady.
Lady
I'm
D.
praying for you, Angela, and your
Thank
family.
you. Thank you so much.
Okay, now it's just me and you.
Cool, cool. So I don't know. I just know. I know that the world is it's gotten a little bit crazier, in my opinion. I know maybe we didn't hear about it a lot when we were younger, but um, just seeing like the rise in school shootings or crimes against innocents, in my opinion, has gone just out of this world. And like, um, it's funny because you see these innocent people that you feel are innocent, especially children. Because the biggest victim in this case, personally, to me, for and I'm sure Avriel, if she was here, she would feel like he was the biggest, that Chunk is the biggest victim. He lost a beautiful mom, and nothing, nothing any of us are going through compares to what his entire life is going to be like.
No doubt.
Which,
Absolutely.
which is exactly why our family was really thinking of changing the baby's name because, you know, it's not a slight to him in any way. It's, we're not trying to suggest it out of maliciousness, but that is going to be a connotation to a negative connection that he doesn't need to live with for the rest of his life. You
I totally
know,
agree with that. And I, at first, when you told me, I was like, change his name. And then I was like, well, yeah, he's going to have this person's name for the rest of his life that, killed his mom.
yeah.
And, and
And then, how many people are, and because it's really made an impact, there was a lot of coverage on this. Um, and he's going to grow up where this actually transpired. It's not like they're moving him to Texas. Um, but how many people are going to just forget it? I mean, he will be going to school with children whose parents will remember this and will remember that name. It's not something usually.
especially like if they become friends with him and close
Yes.
to him and stuff like that, they're gonna always have it spoken out of their mouth. Jariah says The justice system failed her. They basically released dangerous people to let them build more charges to make their job easier. Angela's not wrong. The perpetrators seem to be getting cover from the justice system nowadays. Having that name is an open wound that he'll hear every time someone says it. Put salt in an open wound, yeah.
Absolutely, Jariah. You're 100% right. It's going to be something that, I mean, even if nobody ever says a bad word about his father, and you can't really shelter him from the truth of the matter. Yeah, I mean that wouldn't be fair to him in any way. When wait, spring it on him when he's 20 years old. Hey, by the way, you know, your mom died. It was your dad. No. And this, I mean, it's very obvious that the guy's going to be in prison, and I don't have any idea of how Michael's family is going to proceed. I know emotionally, for myself and probably a good number of my family members, we would rather them just stay out of his life. Um, and I know that's unfair. It's really unfair. It's not like they all committed the crime. Um, but that's a selfish thing. I'm very aware of that's a selfish thing that I feel because of the way I love Avriel. I know in my heart, Avriel never would have wanted for him not to know his entire family. So it is my hope that if they are able to be a good and positive, loving influence in his life, that they remain in his life. So there's really no way to avoid the connection, but he shouldn't have to live with the same name as the man who took his mother's life. And when he's older, I really hope my family encourages him to, if he wants to change his name, change your name back, whatever it is. That's up. I'm all about letting children make make their choices when they're of an age where they can make those choices. And I just don't want him living with the constant reminder, like if he starts kindergarten and his kindergarten teacher remembers, I don't want it to be like a case of sympathy. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I know no person would want to live their life wondering, do they know my story? Do they know who my father is? Do they hate my father? Do they think my mother got what she deserved? Because, I heard that the day that we were standing under the underpass, uh, just on Tuesday, there were some people that the police had to ask to either calm down or leave, and to stop saying things of that nature. Um, and I don't know why people behave like that. Maybe they were in shock. But that's something you have to consider. Not everybody is going to agree that Michael was guilty.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's
like his mom, I hear his mom is saying she's a victim because her son has mental health issues, but she didn't say any of that until they found Averill and he got arrested.
And that's something that he actually worked on over the last week, while she was missing. A neighbor reported that he was going in and out of the woods. He had his shirt on backwards and inside out and no shoes on. They heard a gunfire. You know, then the police picked him up while he was reciting codes off of his hand, just trying to really, and they evaluated him and released him. Then, again, he's trying to play the I'm crazy card. I mean, what criminal that gets busted at his age doesn't really try to play the crazy card? It's kind of taboo.
Do they have the insanity plea there in Virginia?
You can plead mental incompetence. He will probably, just standard procedure, probably have a mental health evaluation. If he tries to go for a plea of insanity or even temporary insanity, he will have to go through, all the testing,
Mm.
and have all of it reviewed by experts. And, it's unfortunate that they'll allow that to happen because it draws out the trial. And then you're listening to that much more testimony from this witness expert, and it's not going to be a quick process. I've made peace with that in my heart. I wish it would be. I would give nothing more than to see this, done and over with in 6 months, and we know that he's going away for 40 years. That would be wonderful.
And
But
that's another thing that hurts the family is having to wait and then during trial relive
all of
all.
it.
Yeah.
And then, knowing our family, we'll want to be there for all of it.
Mhm.
And, it's self-imposed misery, I guess, because you choose to sit and listen to that. But at the same time, it's hard not to want to know what happened to this person that you love. And maybe it's the humanity in us all that wants us to, especially people like parents and close relatives, that want to share that pain of their loved one. I don't get it. I know I would want to know. I would want to be present for the trial, no matter what comes to light. I would want to know, because not knowing seems almost worse to me. Not
Mhm.
knowing, was it something that was quick? Was it something she didn't suffer? And even if she did, is he getting the fair punishment, or is he getting what he deserves?
No one ever gets what they deserve when they take a life. Ever.
No, nope, they really
Ever.
don't. I just, I feel like, if he has an ounce of decency in him, that the guilt will fester in him, and that he will never forget her face, that he will never forget the music of her laughter, because it sounded like wind chimes. She had the most beautiful laugh. And just when he closes his eyes at night, I want him to see those big blue eyes of hers and know that his son, that he will never see again, has those exact same blue eyes, because that is Avriel's baby. That is Avriel's son. That is not his son anymore. He gave that up when he took her life.
And I just want to clarify, the neighbor did say they saw him come in and out of the woods and they heard a gunshot. However, the family does not know the cause of death, and the family does not know exactly how she died yet.
Nope.
So we don't know if it's a shotgun, if it was strangulation or anything yet. So I don't want anyone to take what the neighbor said and go out and say it, because the family, it hasn't been confirmed yet, especially with the family, the cause of death. And I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, and he's just used, like I said, I really feel like he was, he's doing it in plain sight of people in the middle of the day, and then the pretending to read codes off of his hands. This is, it's just things that we were privy to that information, and it's an attempt to paint himself as somebody that has mental health issues. He's probably got a lawyer at this point that is, you know, giving him advice on how best to reduce a sentence. But I do not foresee the claim of mental incapacity being able to stick in this case. I just don't.
If it's if you can plead insanity and you have to plead, what's the other one? I just forgot about it. Mental
Incapacity or mental incompetent.
mental incompetent. So if he's found mentally incompetent, he will get treatment until he's competent to stand trial.
Correct.
If he pleads insanity, then that's just his plea. Like that's just what they go along with. However,
Yeah,
they
and he'll be treated as an insane person.
right, just like they did with Lori Vallow. I think she stayed for a year before she was mentally competent, and then she tried it again, but they were like, "No, you're competent." So
Yeah.
yeah, even if his little public defender thinks that he can get away with it, then Jariah says, "Oh, he's screwed. It may take a while, but he's going away for a long time."
Yeah, I definitely agree, Jariah. And that's something Dolly Vision and I discussed during, when we break for lunch, and unfortunately the lunch break ended the search. But he was, just discussing, we were just discussing like the history of this young man, and like I said, he was a felon who was facing trial for a possession of a firearm because he threatened Avriel with a gun. I mean, he really didn't have much to lose in the way of a future for himself. So he was like a ticking time bomb. Maybe if he, if he does have mental health issues, maybe his mom should have recognized that sooner. I'm sure there was indicators throughout his childhood and his adolescence that she should have acted on. And if she wants to be a victim, then maybe she should check herself before she claims that she's a victim.
Why wait until he commits murder to freaking say he has mental health issues and
Unless
he needs
he's been
help?
clinically diagnosed, I'm not buying it.
Now I wanted to ask you a question because we talked about this and I just wanted to make sure I understand it correctly. Where y'all found Avriel? Y'all have previously searched those woods, right?
She was not found in that location. That was Campbell County, the city of Lynchburg. But she was found in Amherst County, um, off of Route 60, below Blue Ridge Parkway, in and around about an overlook called Buena Vista Overlook. Um, and that it's not a far drive at all. But I think the police were operating on the belief of he did not travel too far outside of his comfort zone, because it was such a a out of the blue type of thing. He wasn't like stalking her, not that we're aware of, at least. He wasn't like coming to her job and making threats or anything like that. So for all intents and purposes, it appeared as though it was a spontaneous thing that occurred. Maybe he just snapped and went over there and grabbed her. Who knows? We sure don't yet. But I feel like everybody was looking so close because it is such a dense area. I know Dolly Vision commented on it. It's literally like today he said, down in those ditches, it is literally like a rainforest. There is so much debris and fallen limbs. We've had a lot of really bad storms over the summer and the spring. And it's literally like these trees are so dense in this city area because any trees are left to be there because it's a concrete jungle. But we were really looking at an area of familiarity because he didn't seem like the calculating or psychopathic type that had planned or scouted out a good dump site or anything like that. So I feel like the police just were operating on their best ability to do the best job and looking close to home. For most murders like this is a really it's relevant. So I believe that's why the search had been located in these areas. Scaremare, where the woods are that are across from his home, is 32 acres. So that's a very logical assumption for anybody in that position to have made to check that. And I feel like the police did a pretty good job as far as doing what they needed to do to find Avriel. And they did. They absolutely did. They followed through, and it was pretty quickly, in my opinion. It could have been sooner, maybe, but how do you make anything move faster when it takes work? You don't.
Yeah, you can't just, you have to, like they did, they said he's probably not out of his comfort zone. So they went around areas that they figured he would, go whatever. And 32 acres is a lot to be able to find one body.
Well, where we live. Dolly Vision said something about, in Lynchburg, it's like the foothills. The further out you come, like towards my area, there's a lot of farmland. And like I said, 20 minutes outside of Lynchburg, and you're at the Blue Ridge Parkway. And the Blue Ridge Parkway is enormous. Just the stretch that runs through Virginia is, there are countless trailheads there. You can get on the Appalachian Trail. There are so many overlooks. There are so many, like Sharp Top Mountain, Peaks of Otter, Taylor Mountain. These are, tourist places. People literally charter buses in the fall to do leafy looker tours. Like there is just miles and miles of trees that people would make this a holiday vacation. So the 32 acres in comparison to the possibility of searching something like even a state park, is that's a huge undertaking that would have taken a lot more time to facilitate.
And his stupid ass was there whenever, like, I can't believe he was there. Like,
I would
dude,
have been
no,
in my house hiding out.
he was there in his car. Like, the family saw him in his car plain as day. And I just hope I can say this, but the dad got some licks in, y'all.
Yes, he did.
Oh,
Yes.
daddy beat his ass.
I'm so proud. I'm so proud. So that's why we took a lunch break. That's why we took a lunch break. And he ran. Actually, he ran. He ran off from that. I believe the neighbor called the police or something to that effect. And I actually, when we were leaving, it's funny, Dolly Vision and I were headed out because we were like, oh God, now we're going to get kicked out of this place because we've caused an issue and Jim's going to go to jail. We just really thought that was going to happen. But apparently it spooked Michael enough when he ran. Some of the search party watched where he was going and they followed behind him, and they knew where he was. So when the police, at that time, literally within an hour, hour and a half, maybe two, they had located Avriel's body, and the detective was on his way or at my cousin's house when I called him because I had driven past all the crime scene tape and police officers under the underpass on the highway. So I whipped back around and told Dolly Vision, hey, there's crime scene tape up here. I think they found her. And he had been arrested at that location, and taken into custody. I was so glad he was not able to escape. I mean, if he would have climbed up onto the highway, he could have easily walked a few blocks, hitched a ride, picked up a lift, and been. The 7 cities is a really tight network, and it's easy to disappear in a big ass crowd like that. So the search party, kicked it into gear and was like, hey, we got to keep an eye on this guy. He ran for a reason. I mean, granted, getting your tail ripped out of a car and whooped on is probably a good enough reason to run.
Don't be scared of daddy. You didn't want to be scared of the daughter. Don't be scared of the daddy. I'm just glad that he got his licks in, because that's a little bit of frustration that he was able to take out on Michael, and Michael's like, oh shit, what, you know what I mean? Like, it's so funny that he ran through, like, he legit, dude, pulled him out of his car.
Yep, he was so nonchalantly just sitting in his car, smoking a cigar without a care in the world. And you're so casual, and maybe it was a front, I don't know, but you're casually sitting in your car in plain sight while there are a massive amount of people literally tromping through your neighborhood and the woods and making our presence very felt, and you're just gonna chill there like you don't think anybody here might whoop your ass. My guy, that's super brave.
The fact that he was just like, that's asking to be caught. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe he does have mental health issues called being dumb as fuck.
Yeah, just because your IQ is low doesn't mean you can't stand trial. I mean, I'm not saying that he's dumb. I mean, I know he probably had to keep his grade. I know he graduated. I know he was also in football, and I know because I was in I was in sports and stuff when I was in school, which has been forever ago. You have to keep your grades up to a certain standard. So he either was good at school or had to really work at it. But either way, I don't think he was dumb, but he had to have been either mentally immature or just had some grandiosity that he was better than people because I really feel like maybe he felt like he was going to get away with it, like, I mean, it's just so brave to just be right there while people are looking for your wife. You're not in the woods looking for her. You're not out there helping, but you have the nerve to sit there completely inactive, chilling in your car, just as happy as you please.
Right where she is, where he was, was he around where she was or no?
No, it's like I said, it's 20 minutes away.
So
Um,
where they had, I'm sorry, where by the overpass where they had the crime scene tape where all the people, where Jimmy was filming, that was
yeah,
not where her body was. That was at the end.
no, we believed that she was found there at the time. Um, I had, my cousin came and got me. He drove over because I was, like, hey, I don't want to leave here, in case, and he didn't want to tell me over the phone. So he came to me and pulled up and, was like, come on, we got to go to the house. So I found out later that that's not where she was. And they did not disclose the actual location to family. Um, at first, we were told later. Um, you know, and I understand, law enforcement was just trying to do their job and not make it a spectacle. Um, out of respect for Avriel and the whole of our family, sorry, I'm making dog food. But
Is that why the cat's meowing? Because you're making dog food?
yes, my cat is so nutty. I think she thinks she's a dog. She's a kitten. Um, One of those things that I was compelled to do. I'm not even a cat person. I've had cats in the past, but I'm not like the biggest cat person. I have a dog. His name's Brutus. He's the love of my life. He's my little buddy boy.
It has to
But
be.
the kitty, her name is Salem, or AKA Baby Bagheera. She is a black tabby, and I never even knew black tabbies existed. You should look them up. They're freaking phenomenal cats. Great with kids. Great with dogs. Really spunky little personalities. Yeah, they're little thieves. But she has black alternating stripes, and she is just beautiful.
You have to send me a picture.
I will. I definitely will. Um, we got her from a friend of ours. I was on Facebook one day, and she found these two cats on the side of the road, and you could tell they had been domesticated. They were cat litter trained. And she was like, "We need to find homes." And trying to get my manager at work, who had just said she wanted to get a cat for her daughter's birthday, connected. Somehow, I ended up with a cat myself, and I don't regret it. I love her.
Who has Avril's dog?
Right now, Avriel's dog Athena is still with her mother and stepfather. She's such a good dog. I think she's like a black lab mix. And she has a buddy, Ellie, that is Ashley, her mother's dog. And she's some kind of hound dog. She's so adorable. And then they have Danby, I think his name is, which is a German Shepherd who is a puppy, and he is just so cute. He's about a year old, so a big puppy.
Oh, good. At least he's not alone. And, because he's going to miss her too. I mean, that was
Yeah,
dogs, grieve too and miss people
that's
too.
true. And that's something that Avriel's stepdad, when we were all at the house after we just found out, he was like, because we're out in the yard and it's people that he doesn't know how they interact with dogs. So he came out and asked very politely, hey, Avriel's dog is in the house and she really wants to come outside. She seems really down. And I think that she just needs some loving. Her mama hasn't been here to love on her.
Mhm.
And it broke my heart. The man was just in tears. He's been in Avriel's life for a very long time. And he, of course, Athena comes out and just as sweet as she could be, you could tell she was very well cared for and loved. Which, like I said, Avriel was just one of those people that gave so much of herself to anything that she was doing or anybody that she loved. So,
Well,
you
that's
know,
what happened. That's usually my chat's not working. That's usually the people that stuff like this happens to, and it's sad. Like it's I don't know. Jiraiya says, so what were you saying about they took the death penalty off the table? But when did they do that? Like, is it inactive at time, like when the
so
crime happened?
yes, at this current point in Virginia, the death penalty is not available to, you know, for, I say available, but it's not on the table. Governor Northam, he did away with that, and that administration was very lackadaisical, in my opinion. I'm not going to make this a political conversation. Um, it doesn't align me with any one party. Please know that. But it was it facilitated a lot of criminals getting away with things that they could not have gotten away with. Um, the death penalty puts a big axe over someone's head
Mm-hmm.
in this situation. Michael has zero motivation to give us the story easily because there's nothing really hanging over his head that wasn't already hanging over his head. Time in jail.
Yeah.
And he's no stranger to jail. So being acclimated to that environment, he knows that he can, foster relationships, whether they be, as fulfilling as they would be on the outside world. We all know that that's not exactly true. But institutionalization is real. People that are no stranger to the system without any actual consequence do not find the threat of life in prison as anything more than an inconvenience.
Yeah. Yep. Because they can't be out and like Jiraiya said, I just told you. I think I just told you. No, I didn't. He's lucky death penalty is off the table considering he sat and enjoyed himself as the family was frantically searching.
Yep. And that's something that really, burns me about the fact that he was not violated on his parole. Um, you know, a whole week went by of him getting to go out and eat and smoke his black and milds and drive his car, and whether he was having a good time or if it was even on his mind is irrelevant because he was alive and walking free
Yeah.
when he should not even have been allowed to be able to be around Avriel after the strangulation charge because of his previous convictions and charges of assault and violent crimes. I mean, that's just absolutely ridiculous.
I can't really blame the state or the county for, like you said, denying the protective order or anything because I feel like he's the type of person that would have not cared about the paper and went after her anyway because that's just the type of past he has. Does he have a violent past with any other relationships that he's had before Avriel?
Nothing that I can verify. Hearsay is hearsay. I know that he had an ex in New York that Avriel had mentioned to me, that he had a poor relationship with, and Avriel had to play middleman quite often for their conversations for an exchange of a title to a car. And that's just from conversations her and I personally had. But I cannot imagine that he didn't have a history of being violent towards partners, because the ease at which the progression of violence in their relationship transpired is just too indicative of the way he has lived his life.
Was he in a gang?
I don't know. I mean, I know that he has posted some things on his Facebook, that by now everybody's probably stalked his Facebook page, that would could really make you think that he had some kind of nefarious activity in his past or currently. But I don't know specifically if he's ever been in a gang or participated in gang activities. I know that there's a lot that you could read into what he's posted on Facebook in the past. And it's funny to me because the other day, I noticed somebody had comment or somebody I know had mean reacted a post, so it came up when I was scrolling through articles that he had posted about a woman in Lynchburg that was murdered like a year or two ago, and he commented. His caption was, "If you take innocent lives, like you're the worst type of person," and it's just so ironic that you would portray yourself as the type of person that would be upset by a senseless act of malice, like towards an innocent person, and then you turn around and you are that person. Maybe
and turn around and beg for her to be found whenever you're the
he
one that
knew. He knew the whole time. And it's just, to me, I don't feel as though that was a genuine portrayal of grief. I know a lot of people do grieve differently, or express themselves differently, but you just know when someone is genuinely grief ridden or desperate to find someone. The desperation in my cousin's eyes is evident of what it looks like to be absolutely invested in something of this nature. That boy trying to garner sympathy, I guess, from maybe his own following to show doubt to them. Like, if he didn't say anything, wouldn't that imply guilt?
Yeah,
But at the same time,
anything yet?
And at the same time, like, I feel like some people would do it just like, you're going to doubt me anyway, but I'm worried and I'm just going to keep pushing, but he didn't do that. It was 2 posts, and the fact that he didn't join the search party, like that, really, you didn't call the family and ask any questions. You didn't. Yeah, he didn't try to get in contact with the detective on the case. You didn't.
Got in his car and watched.
Yeah.
I can't get over that yet, but I'm glad he did. I'm going to continue saying I'm glad he did, because also it gave Jim a little sense of something to do that, just to get frustration out. I don't know, but I'm so glad he did. Like, I've never heard of any of these cases like that with that happening. So I'm really glad he did. And I know that Jimmy said that y'all were searching in buses and old buildings in the woods and stuff. I mean, it wasn't just the woods and the ground.
No, we went over to a cemetery. He flew the drone over the wooded area directly behind Avriel's apartment because that was the last place anybody could confirm seeing her was at her apartment. And, when we went there, there was a tree line that was very dense, had lots of vines growing up over this, I say a ditch. A ditch in country terms is something you could park a car in. So, it's a creek, whatever you want to call it. It's a ditch out here. But there was no way to even, just look over the fence. You literally had to get down in there and look. And there was, like I said, it was easily areas that could be obscured, fallen limbs, concrete, where the drain pipes come into this creek for runoff. It was a strong possibility that she could have been there. So we did look there. They looked, side streets. There were posters posted up on street corners, under underpasses, at restaurants, and her face was out there for people to see. This girl is missing, and I can only imagine it, how that could have affected him. I would love to know if it put any pressure on him, or if he was just casually strolling by it like whatever.
Like you said, you didn't think that her case would be this big,
Yeah.
and he didn't either. You know, what I mean, he probably didn't know what to do because
No,
I'm telling you,
and
YouTube gets involved, YouTube's involved,
yeah,
and that's just how you know what I mean. Like they don't.
yes. And that's the thing, like I feel like maybe that's where I think, he really thought he was better than her. I was on the phone with her one time and she was asking me some questions about, starting baby foods. And he was at before the time where pediatricians would have recommended baby food for him. And I told her, like, you kind of got to go with your baby on these things. And, you don't actually have to just start with green foods. It's kind of up to you on these things. But that's what the Pediatric Foundation suggests: 6 months, start with green foods. And we were just having a very basic mom conversation. And I heard him in the background go, "Who are you on the phone with?" And she was like, "Chill out. It's just my cousin." And he was like, "You don't need to be asking people advice about our baby." And I was like, "What?" Like,
Wow.
you have the confidence to
Oh
say
my
to
God.
her, while somebody can hear you, that she doesn't need to ask anybody else. Like,
Yeah,
that's
that's
what good moms
crazy.
do.
Yeah.
That's what good moms do. They make sure, hey, did you do this? Is it cool that my 5-month-old baby is starting baby food because he's hungry?
Oh yeah,
Like,
mine did. Mine
uh,
did.
mine did too, girl. Mine did too. They're on rice cereal about 3 or 4 months.
Yep. No, my first one didn't. I couldn't hardly get him to eat till he was almost 2 years old. I mean, he ate little bitty, but my second one, he was all about the cereal, man.
Yes, and that's where that's what I was telling her in that conversation. It's like you got to kind of feel your baby out. That man just had the confidence of King Tut or something, because he just knew he was going to tell her what to do. And that type of person, I just feel like he probably didn't think that she was going to amount to being anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was a nobody in his
That's
mind.
sad.
And it is sad because I don't feel like he appreciated her. It's evident that he didn't, because he killed her. I do not think he valued her and the gift of life that she had allowed him to share with her. And, you can try for the insanity card all you want, but
So
it's
is
a,
that what he's going for?
I believe he's probably going to try to at least go for mental incompetence, to claim that he had an undiagnosed disorder or whatever. Um, because he was aiming for psych evals while Avriel was still missing. It's
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's kind. Oh wow. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
If that's not obvious, right?
Yeah.
Well,
but it's like
I'm very thankful that he didn't hurt the baby too. You
that,
know.
and that's where I really feel like the crux of his mental incompetence case is going to cling. Because if you were mentally incompetent and in a rage, but cognizant enough not to hurt the baby, to take him home and care for him until the family retrieved the baby and he was picked up by police.
Right.
You know, you were incompetent enough to commit murder and conceal the body, but you were competent enough to care for the baby.
Right.
And
I don't,
just sit around and wait for the police and cover your track. Not wait for the police, but watch search and try to cover your tracks and all this
Right.
and that. Like, come on, dude.
yeah, like you weren't drawing circles on the walls with a banana. You were chilling in your car, hanging out like the world couldn't touch you.
Right.
But the world did. Oh yes,
Oh
they
yes. The world came in the form of a blue-eyed, blonde-haired daddy with a bad attitude.
don't mess with a daddy. Don't
No.
mess with a daddy.
And I promise you, that that boy was shown the biggest measure of mercy that day.
Oh
because
my God. I'm sorry, Jariah's in here like really upset. Let me read you his comments. All the prosecution is gonna tear him to pieces. Oh, all of that, the prosecution is going to tear him to pieces on small soulless, but he's going to squirm like a worm when they hold a mirror up to him. Sorry, y'all. I'm just mad. It's not confidence, it's arrogance. The type of person that only feels big when everyone else feels small around them.
Exactly.
Irrelevant. My client may be a murderer, but he didn't hurt a baby is not a good defense. Sorry.
nailed it, Jariah. Nailed it.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't. It doesn't even make sense. Like that's incomprehensible to me. You know, either he's gonna try to weasel this. I feel like if he wants to act in his own best interest, he needs to give a confession and go for a plea deal of some sort if it's even on the table. I
Yeah.
hope they don't. I hope they don't give him a plea deal. I hope they throw the book at him, confession or not. I hope they nail him to the wall.
I do
But
too.
Do they do they talk to the family before they offer or even accept a plea deal?
I'm not really sure. I would assume that they would, but I don't think that we would be able to be a deciding factor or whether or not they offered that.
Well, yeah, no, they just get your opinions. I think they do that for like sentencing or something. I'm not sure, but you'll find out. Obviously.
Well,
Oh,
I know they did in Idaho in that. I think they do kind of take the family's feelings into consideration sometimes.
well, I mean, I hope they don't have to ever ask us that because it's going to be a resounding no.
Right.
I mean, I can say that with utmost confidence that my family is not going to want any mercy shown to him. You showed no mercy to our baby girl, and you showed no mercy to your son.
No, and I mean he didn't take you to where he put her. Thank God
No,
that you found her. But really, as far as a plea deal, I mean, what does he have to offer? I mean, he can't.
no,
Thank God he can't say, "Well, I'll tell you where she is," or anything like that. So
Yeah.
what does he have to offer them? You know,
nothing,
you know,
nothing at all. And it's
you
like,
know why? You know the why. You know how. You know where she is. So I mean, I don't really think he has anything to offer as far as a plea deal, except for maybe
A smaller
to the
sentence.
court. Yeah.
you know, and God knows, I mean, that and with his criminal history, it begs to question. I've seen a lot is in Virginia, especially of times instances where I've seen people that I really thought were going away, and then you see them out in a few
Yeah.
years, and you're like, what did you even have to offer? And maybe it's other information on cases that are relevant, and that would be an assumption to make on another day, but nobody knows what this kid does or doesn't know. He knows,
Right.
and if he has bargaining chips, then more power to you. But you you really effed up this time, bud. You took someone's life. You took a mother. You took a sister. You took a daughter. You took a cousin. You took a granddaughter. You took the most important person in your legacy's life,
Hey,
Yeah.
KK.
and it's just you deserve no mercy from anyone.
I totally agree. I'm totally of the opinion. I believe that if people had done to them what they do to other people, maybe people would think twice before they did something.
Yeah. Yep. I wish, I wish more than anything we could throw him in a ravine. Forget he was there.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe that's callous of me. And I'm speaking from a place of grief. I make no apologies for that.
Well,
I
you'll
To
get
do
to a
that.
point of forgiveness when if God will help you to get to the point of forgiveness. But I think God understands our anger and frustration and heartbreak. I mean,
yeah,
And I feel like God is definitely going to get justice because he found her in a quick time, and he got arrested, and all these things that are happening, that God made happen. I feel like he's going to also get justice for Avriel and for soon to be Amen,
I
hopefully.
Yeah.
can't believe he didn't have the balls to man up and at least go act like he was looking for her. I mean, that right
Yeah.
there, big tell to me, you
Yep.
know.
He thought it was easier to be in the vehicle to drive away, but nope.
No.
That got you. Sorry, not sorry.
Yep. And I just don't. It just the arrogance and like Dariah said, it is arrogance. You're completely right about that. The arrogance of, being that person, knowing your own secret, like he was sitting there basking in his evil deeds. I really feel like he's got some kind of evil spirit in him, or just it is his spirit, because it takes somebody with a very cold black heart to do what he did. From the minute he took Avriel to the minute he sat there casually in his car smoking, to
Oh
just
my God.
it's just that it's a whole week full of just pure evil. I mean, there's no other word for it. You cannot say that there is light in somebody that is capable of that.
Right. Jariah says, not callous of you. The world is better off without him and lesser without Avriel. I'm Old Testament. So am I, Jariah.
And I really try to be a good and forgiving person, and generally, I think I am. I think most of the people in my family are good and just and fair and forgiving people. But on this, I don't want to forgive him at all. I don't want to. Maybe in time I will. I mean, I know the benefit of forgiveness for myself, but I just don't want to forgive him right now.
And that's your
I
God
can
given
understand
right.
that.
You don't ever have to, but if one point in time in your life you do have the strength to forgive him, then do that. But you know what? I if you don't ever forgive him, that's your God given right, and he deserves that. But if you feel like you can forgive him at one point in time, then go ahead and do that. But
Well,
he
oh
doesn't
no, she
deserve your
fell off.
forgiveness. Oh,
We
she'll be
lost
back.
her. Well, you'll have to let her up, hon. I can't.
I know. Oh wait. Exactly, Jariah. That's what I was saying too. And it couldn't maybe not have been premeditated, you know what I mean? Like it could have been just an argument, a fight that got in, he beat her up or whatever, and he went too far and then had to do something, you know what I mean? Because I was being unconscious for 2 days. So it's possible that it could have happened that way. And then he was like, oh shit, what do I do?
Yeah.
I mean, because that happens a lot.
My
Yeah.
thing with forgiveness, and you'll get there in time, but my thing is with forgiveness is when you forgive, it has nothing to do with that other person. It has to do with
Your heart.
the power that they have over you as far as making you feel some way, and in this way bad. When you let that go, you don't have to be around, you don't have to like him, you don't have to do anything, but that releases the pressure and the what am I trying to say, the turmoil inside yourself, you know. But it's nobody expects you to forgive now or ever if you don't want to. I mean, but with the person like you, I think there'll come a time that you'll let it go, you know.
Yeah. I definitely will. Just knowing that I want to be able to be, I don't want to be somebody that's holding on to hatred, especially because of Michael and the
No, and
baby.
it's not healthy, it's not healthy for you either. I mean, that can eat at you,
Yeah, and
physically.
definitely I don't want it to ever color my feelings in my relationship with her son.
Right.
If that makes any sense. Like I would like to be able to um, move on from the hurt and the feelings of loss, to be able to tell this little boy with utmost confidence that I love who he is. And unfortunately, a part of him is from his father. And in order to love somebody, you really have to love who they are. And that's forever going to be a piece of his
Right.
makeup. It's
Right.
not going to define him. It's not going to determine the man that he becomes. But I know in my heart that I will have to make peace and forgive this man
Yes.
for this crime, no matter how unjust or unfair I feel it was. I will have to make peace with it because I want to be able to model that for her son. I
Mhm.
want to be able
Exactly.
to show him that you can be angry and that you can hate this person, but for yourself, you need to love yourself.
And you know what? I wouldn't have been able to put it any better than that. That was just put perfectly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, part of me is at war with the logical part of my brain that knows these things, and it's because this is so raw for us all.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, the light that Avriel is and was just so bright, and it was snuffed out, and it's a loss. It's cold. It is dark, and I am allowing myself the time that I need to feel this. And I hope every one of my family members that is feeling this loss is able to sit with it in their own time, in their own way, however they need to process it. Um, but I personally am sitting with this feeling and letting myself feel these things until I'm ready to get up and shake it off and move to like Avriel always did. She moved forward. She was like,
Right.
"This sucks. I am going to figure out how to make it better." She didn't ask for somebody to fix it for her. She didn't sit around waiting for someone to hand it to her. She said, "You know what? Nobody's going to give it to me. I got to go out and get it myself. I'm going to do this."
Right.
And that is probably the best thing I could ever do for her. Personally, I'm not at a place where I'm absolutely ready to make that step. And I'm aware of that and I'm conscious and accept where I'm at. But I hope all of her family, all of us, can recognize that one golden piece of Avriel that allowed her to do that so effortlessly so that we can all find peace and be able to love her son exactly the way she would have. And and if I'm being very honest, Avriel loved Michael and she did her best to accept him for who he was, to love him where he was at,
Mhm.
and that he didn't deserve it, but she gave it to him, and that was a beautiful thing. And
And
I
that's
want her
okay.
son I really want her son to know that. I want her to know that there were times where his dad and his mom were completely in love with each other and that they had good times together. It all was not just this last event. And when I can achieve forgiveness and when I can let myself move on from these locked in feelings of grief, I want to be able to tell him those things. I don't want to leave it up to someone else. I want to tell him, you look back at the pictures of them smiling at the baby shower, and you can tell for that one little moment, he was joyful with her. That
Right.
their son was a source of joy. Maybe that's the only good that we are going to take away from this. But that little boy deserves to know that it wasn't all bad.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
You know, and
it sucks
he
as a
needs,
family
I
member to say
mean,
that.
he'll know that his dad did a terrible, awful thing. I mean, there's no way he can't help but know that. But, um, too, you have to make sure he doesn't grow up thinking, well, my dad was like that. So it was, you know what I mean? That needs to
And
be
that's literally where I'm coming from with this. Like, I
right.
don't want his dad's the only thing anybody ever says about him is that he was a murderer and that he was bad and this and that and this. That is going, it's along the lines of psychological abuse towards someone. You are telling someone all these negative things and they're ingesting it and they're telling themselves that bad part is in me.
Me,
And then
exactly.
it could manifest, it could self-manifest because of doubt, because of it being drilled into you that that person was just wholly
Or
and
every time
inherently
you have
bad.
an angry feeling or whatever, yep, I'm
Am I
just
going to
like
be a
them,
murderer? Am I
yeah.
going to be a murderer? And I cannot imagine that child growing up into a man that has to live with those ideas. So I do want to go to a place for myself, and for the baby, that I can say, you know what, that thing that he did was really, really bad. And there were other things that he did that were really, really bad. But there was something in him good enough that your mother loved him, and that love was true and pure enough that they had you. And maybe it didn't stay that way. People grow, people change. Maybe he wasn't changing and Avriel was, which seems to be exactly what was happening from the moment she got pregnant. She decided, I need to do better for my child. I need to really invest in what this means as a mom. And like I said, 20 years old and taking that on, like, I am going to be the best. I'm going to check myself. I'm going to hold myself accountable. I mean, grown women out here still not able to do that.
No.
20, she did. 20, she did it. And she was doing a beautiful job. And that woman, with such ferocity, with such vibrancy, with such a good soul, found it in herself to love that man. There had to have been something good in him that she wanted to make grow. And I feel that that child really deserves to know that his mother believed in his father up until the most unfortunate thing could have happened.
Oftentimes we, as abused women, often feel like we can fix them. We can
Yes,
help them get better. And that's why we stay, because we feel deep in our heart that we can do this. And then it continues and continues. And then we feel like that's all that we deserve.
yes. I know Avriel she had not suffered it enough that she was at the point where she felt it was something she deserved. Maybe she had felt like that before, but where she was at in her life, she had laid down the law. She said, you might think you're going to walk all over me. You might think you're going to rule this nest. You might think I'm going to cow to you, but you got another thing coming. She was a firecracker, like her mother said. She was not about to sit down and be quiet. She was going to push. And if he was not going to grow in the direction that he needed to be growing, and he was going to throw a tantrum or try to bully her, she left. She said, I am not going to do this. And when I say that our family, we got some little hiccups over here. And what family's perfect? But our
What
family
family
definitely.
doesn't? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
this family right here, well, we got a couple screws loose, but she stepped up and she realized, like, alcoholism is a prevalent problem in a lot of households in America, and I'm not going to say it didn't touch our family. I mean, we've got diagnoses in our family, and things that you know the typical normal, whatever that is, setting on a washing machine, um, don't deal with on a daily basis. But she stepped up to cycles and generational curses, whatever you might call them. And she was like, I am not accepting of these things. I am making my own way, even if I have to cut a path right through it all.
And
And
that's what pissed him off.
that's exactly what I really feel like, the fact that he could not force her to be scared of him. He could not. She was scared, but she was scared for her son. but she was not intimidated to the point where she was going to allow him to back her into a corner. And I know how hard it was for me fighting not to be backed into that same corner. And I did not have what it took to stand up. I got back in that corner. I swallowed in on myself. And I told Avriel this. I said I stopped talking to friends. I stopped even making an effort because of the problems it was causing. I was not allowed to talk to my mother or my sisters unless my phone was on speaker and my ex was sitting right beside me. I wasn't allowed to have Facebook. I wasn't allowed to have a cell phone. I was not allowed to go anywhere but the grocery store. And if I took longer than he deemed absolutely necessary, I was getting yelled at. There was going to be hell to pay. Dinner had to be done when he got home. Dishes needed to be, I mean, there were absolute rules and regulations to my life. And if not, there were consequences. And I told her very specifically, you have to decide when enough is enough. And when she heard those words, and whether she heard them just from me or I believe she has a lot of people that were right there in that same corner yelling the same thing at her, don't you dare let him put you in that corner. And she was like, you know what? Me and this baby, we're going to figure it out together. And bye-bye. And she moved on. She went right on with her life. And she was like, you do you, brother. I'm going to make sure our child gets raised.
Right. You know what? I hope every time that man closes his eyes, I hope he sees her eyes and her face right before she left this world. I
I
hope it
said that
haunts
too.
him for the rest of his life.
Well, I don't think he will. I honestly don't think he will because that's just the type of person that he is. Jariah said, Angela, you're doing better than I am. I'm still on anger of the 7 stages of grief. You don't go through life without a couple of uncomfortable scars. Courage is taking action when you are scared.
Thank you, Jariah. And I hope for your sake on your journey with grief that you are able to move through these stages in the most healthy and beneficial way for you. And I express all the love and light in your journey of grief because it's a dark path. And I hope that you know that you have a friend in me. Um, you can reach out and find me on Facebook, Christy. If you want to send him my name on Facebook, you can. Um, it takes a lot of people in your corner that know the experience of grief to help you navigate these things. And unfortunately, I've been through the stages of grief more than a few times. I could probably do like the navigation by the stars at this point.
Yeah.
But you know that's a well suffered experience to have. And I hold myself accountable. I'm always on a path for better mental health. I am actively in therapy I've been in 4 years, dealing with PTSD, and trauma from, my relationship, with my ex and other experiences in my life. And mental health matters. I post that every single Wednesday, sitting in the parking lot for therapy, faithfully. Mental health matters. Tell your friends. I advise all of my friends, any of my friends, Avriel included, my family, if you go to the doctor or the dentist for a checkup, you still need to get a checkup for your mental health. It's the same thing. Make sure you're good. Make sure your friends are good, and always have somebody you can talk to, because there are too many people out there that don't have somebody to talk to. And I am a super open book for anybody that ever finds themselves in need. I will lend an ear.
We talk a lot.
Yeah, I love you, Christy. You're so awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart, all right.
Aw, don't blow up my head, guys.
Well,
You
the
need
wave's got to
it.
go somewhere, right?
The yeah to my head is better than the rest of my body.
Yeah, I'm grateful. Just absolutely grateful for the steps in the path that have led me to some of the most wealth wealth providing relationships that I've ever been able to establish with people. Um, and you often find that you're connected in ways that you wouldn't ever understand unless you experience them. You know, most of us that found an interest in Avriel's story, um, it could be something as simple as you like true crime, or you know, just felt a connection to the story, or you have suffered abuse or known somebody to go missing. There is a connectivity amongst people, and if people would recognize each other and their humanness and connect more, I think we would be able to smother the darkness a little bit more with the light in this world.
I find that most people in true crime, there's a reason they're in it,
Yeah.
because they've experienced something that, has put them there a lot of
Yeah.
time. I think that's one reason we find so much comfort with each other.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
know that's why I did.
Well, I'm glad, because this whole experience could have been so much more devastating for our entire family. Um, you know, we've lost Avriel, but we have gained so much just in the ability to bring attention to the things like domestic violence, missing people, murders, and the injustices that we find very prevalent in the system nowadays. Loopholes and just inadequacies that really need attention, and that's not going to get attention unless somebody speaks up.
Yep, and that's what we
Absolutely.
did with Avriel, and that's what we will continue to do, because the state fails so many people in so many ways, and people just need help, and they need, courage, and they need just the
Like you said, just even getting the information out there more accessible to those that are in need. We lost her again, hun.
yeah, I know she'll come back up.
Poor thing.
We need to super glue her.
We do.
I want to play this video while she comes back up. There she is. I'm going to play it real quick when she comes back up.
I had something on my screen and accidentally hit the back button.
I do that. That's why I always drop on Scarlett's, y'all. Just so that y'all know, I always hit the back button.
It's like, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Lord. Anyway, it is getting really late. Thank God for my wonderful husband manning down the fort with homework and toothbrushing and putting children to bed.
Thank you, husband.
Yes,
Thank you very much, hubby.
he's such a good partner, and just in case anybody that is listening to this or hears it in 5 years even, you might have suffered at the hands of abuse. You might have known evil, but you do not have to give up on finding love just because you have been broken or scarred. I was so fortunate, and the only reason I became fortunate was because I had learned to establish boundaries. It was after, having almost been chopped up by an axe, but who's counting? I got there. That's what counts.
Yeah.
But I knew what I wanted in a partner. I knew what I could provide, and I knew that I was doing well on my own. And I was able to then meet somebody at that same level who showed the same amount of dedication and really formed a partnership with me. Somebody who met me where I'm at and then said, let's go to the next level together. And there's never been a question at all. I know with my ex, if I would have said, hey, I'm getting on a chat and I don't know how long I'm going to be on it, but I need you to man down the children and stuff. I mean, I got dinner done and stuff, but can you handle that? And he was like, absolutely, no problem, bye. My ex would never in a million years, dog. Even if I would have suggested it, there would have been a whole problem. Whole
Jariah,
problem for the next 3 days. And
Well,
and, and
like
my
Jariah says, thank you, super heavy.
yeah, super heavy. But he stepped up and he is a partner. I cook, he does dishes. It's awesome. He washes laundry, I fold it and put it away. And there is a day when you are out of the abuse and you are whole in yourself where you're allowed to let yourself find what it really means to be loved.
Yeah, there's a life after abuse if you're willing to just wait on it. I agree.
And
after 18 months, I'm not even there yet.
oh, girl, trust me, I went through a whole 2 years of not even, nope, nope, get out of my inbox. No, you're not going to friend request me.
I block
And
everyone.
I'm like, block, block, block. And the funny thing is I had met Donnie at our children's school. He was there for field day, and it was when Autumn was in, I think, first grade, second grade. She came home and she was sorting. It was like one of the first days of school, second day of school, something. She was to put all of her classmates' names in alphabetical order, and my husband's got twins, and their names are Kendall and Cammy, and I Kendall was in Autumn's class, and I was like, oh, I love that name and the way she spelled it. And she was like, that's my best friend. She has ear tags like me. My daughter has bilateral ear tags, and they literally were best friends. So when we initially met, my husband and I, we did not tell anybody anything. I was not ready for a relationship. He had been single for 7 years and was comfortable in his lifestyle. And I was just like, we're not going to do this. We're not introducing our kids. We're not going there. And then we got to a point where we were ready to start, trying to see how that would work. And he stopped by one day to drop something off. That was our plan. He was going to casually drop by. I need to drop something off at my friend's house. And my children were waving out the bay window of my house. And next thing I know, these children are all squealing in the front yard. And me and him are standing on my porch looking at each other like, what just happened?
Mhm.
And our kids were just like, these are our best friends. And I was like, so we've been keeping this a secret from the kids for months now? Because we were worried about how that would affect our relationship. And it was just so awesome, to be able to connect with somebody and build the
God
type
had
of
a plan,
relationship.
that's for sure.
Yes, I believe so. And that's something I wish for anybody that is in the midst of abuse to understand that right now, if you feel like it's not love, if you know that you need to get away, that doesn't mean if you're there and you hear them saying that you're not worth it, nobody will ever love you. That is not true. That is absolutely a lie.
This
There
is
is,
something that I tell a lot of people. I always tell them, and usually it's to my nieces and things like that. And I'm like, when you're dating, that is as good as it's ever going to get. If they're
yep,
not treating you right, then if they're treating you badly, then don't think you're going to change them. Don't think it's going to get better, because that's when they're on their best behavior. It's only going to
Yep.
get worse from there. So if you
yep.
can't deal with it before, don't, just walk away. Just walk away and find somebody else, because it'll never get better. It'll only get
And
worse.
when they first show themselves, that's their true colors. Like,
Exactly.
just know that's who they are and take it as a red flag or not. But
And they'll gaslight you. They'll try to make you feel like, nobody else, like you said, nobody else will love you. Nobody else will care. That's their insecurity speaking. That's their
Oh,
I
yeah.
jealousy
feel that way.
speaking. That
I
you
Yeah.
still
don't
feel
let
that
them
way.
put that on you. Don't let them put that on you.
And just so you know, Christy, like grief, when we get out of an abusive relationship, it is very similar to the grieving process. You don't know yourself anymore because you've lost a piece of yourself that you are no longer able to get back. You have lost your sense of direction. You are then facing the loss of everything that you dreamed you would have because you had found love. Whether that be getting married, having children, moving to the Bahamas, going on cruises, being a dog mom, it doesn't matter what the dream was. You're suffering the loss of that dream, the loss of the effort that you put into those years, the loss of all those things, and you are grieving it. You are becoming a new person inside of the bubble abuse created around you. There is no timeline for it, but I assure you that you will get to the point where you start to be able to recognize yourself. You'll pick up a book because you know what? Those dishes can wait. I no longer have to make sure the dishes are done for someone. That's my own expectation because I have been trained to need to do those dishes.
Right.
You
Right.
know, and you will get to a point where you will learn to care for yourself in the way that somebody else should be able to care for you.
It's
And
like,
then,
as you were talking about that, I can't remember the name of the movie, but it had um oh my gosh, her name went right out of my head too. The one that played in The Runaway Bride, Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts, yes.
It had her, and she was in an abusive relationship, and he was one of those that he wanted those towels on the bathroom rack. He wanted those towels like perfectly even. They had to be so far apart and exactly even on the bottom of, the bottom of the towels had to be perfectly even.
Yeah.
And at the end of the show, when she gets away and she finds herself, she starts to put towels up in her bathroom, and she starts to straighten them up and make them perfectly.
Perfect.
And at the end, she walked out and she like pulled one down where they weren't perfectly even. That was like
Yeah.
her way of saying, I'm done with that. So
There
that's,
were little things, and that's something that, when you're freshly 18 months is still a really fresh retrieval of self. You will have, I mean, it's something like as simple as just the way he liked his eggs. You ate your eggs that way, so it was easier and seamless in order to make breakfast in a timely manner. Well, I like my eggs just the way I like my eggs on the day that I wake up. If I want to make poached eggs, guess what? We're having poached eggs and probably eggs
right.
Benedict. Whip up some hollandaise sauce. My ex could not stand hollandaise sauce. Just make it anytime I dang well please now. And there were things that I literally had to first become consciously aware of. And I'm very fortunate that when Donnie and I were dating, and I would often say, Paul would have never let me do this. Or we would have never ate this for dinner. Like, I know how to cook this amazing bolognese sauce, but he would never eat it. Nope, nope, nope. His mama only is the only person that's allowed to make her ground beef spaghetti. That, I'm sorry, but I'm Italian. That just is not, I'm not doing that.
Hmm.
You take your ragu home, okay? I will. No offense to anybody who uses ragu. If you're going to
I'm
use
not
the jar,
Italian. I use ragu.
I'm just gonna. You can make it good. I'm not. I'm not hating, but I am a little bit of a
That's
snob
just
when
your
it
little
comes
bit of
to.
sass that you throw in there. Like, yeah, I'm going to,
Yeah,
it's just, it's just like your little sass. Like,
yeah.
get out of
But
my
like,
head.
but I often would express that to Donnie, like, oh, he never would. And then I realized, like, that is also a response from my relationship to compare the things that I was no longer bound by. And at that point, I was like, wait a minute, I don't have to do that either. I can let go of all the things I wasn't allowed to do and just do what I want, like I was doing before me and Donnie started dating. Like, oh, you don't even care. You like sushi? Cool. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And it's you'll take those things back. Like, if you've ever been stifled, if you've ever been isolated and smothered and abused and made to feel unworthy and unloved, when you get out, because I want to speak and claim that when you get out, not if, not how, not maybe,
Right.
claim it. Because that's what Avriel did. She said, "I'm gonna get out," and don't let that discourage you, because Avriel is, an unfortunate case. A lot of women do get away and are able to reestablish themselves if they're readily available resources, or you have a good support system, you have a better chance. But even if you don't, you're still worthy of trying to get away, and you need to claim it. I'm going to get out. I'm going to do this for myself,
Absolutely.
and I'm going to reclaim everything for myself. Not because he took it from you, because it's mine.
Right. My problem right now, and I don't know if anyone else probably has this problem, but I still have issues with getting panic attacks when I pass places that we've either lived or have had a history with. Or I ain't gonna lie to you, every time I go to the dispensary, when I get there and when I leave, I have panic attacks because I have to pass right by his work where he used to work at. And once I get to this big hotel thing, I know where that is, and I can't get that freaking thing. Like, I'll even like put my eyes fixated on the road, make sure I don't see anything in my peripheral vision, but it's still there and I can't get out of my mind. Like, and when I pass places like that here, like, I'll get panic attacks and I want it to stop. Like, I just want to drive through this town and not have that happen. And I don't think I can better myself and get healed until that happens.
Okay, wait. So
I can
I'm
hear
going to
that in
sound
your voice
crazy.
right now.
Yeah, I can
Huh?
hear it too. So wait, I have just spent the last year and a half doing 6 week sessions of EMDR therapy. Hear me out on this. It is the science. You're gonna have to just look at the science on it. It is eye movement desensitization reprogramming. It is a progressive treatment, and if you're not open to the actual session, then it's going to take a little more. But if you can just think of these places and get triggered, this therapy could absolutely 100% work for you. And I'm only going to talk about this because anybody who's living in an abusive relationship, like I said, you need the resources, you need to know, and there are ways and paths to recovery. For me, having so many kids that are, young and needing to be cared for, Valium, Xanax, those are not feasible options for me. I just can't function on them. So I decided to research other therapies for panic attacks and anxiety disorder because I have a heart condition. And I came across EMDR therapy, and my therapist is a trauma specialist. That also matters when you're looking into therapy, to know what you're looking for. So trauma therapy is what I've been doing for the past 4 years. It's a lot of, I'm gonna be honest, I have to have an evening appointment where I have up to 2 hours to spend with this therapist. She's a wonderful person and I absolutely adore her. She has helped me do some of the best work that I've ever been able to do in my life, and heal things I never thought I would be able to heal. I have a phobia of the dentist because I was literally assaulted by my orthodontist when I was like 12. And I have gotten really bad issues going on with my teeth that I have avoided and avoided and avoided for years, because I could not even bring myself to the lobby of a dental office without having a panic attack. I have supraventricular tachycardia. So when I have a panic attack and the adrenaline kicks in, my heart starts to stutter and skip beats, causing blackouts. I will stop breathing. I've had seizures. It's bad. So it's not ideal for me to just have a panic attack, so I don't go to the dentist. Well, EMDR therapy, I started to get um, periodontal disease and the cavities along the front of my teeth. I have a really big smile. My mouth is huge. And now I am super self conscious about it. Um, and I was like, I have got to get over this. I've got to go to the dentist. So I started talking to my therapist about it, and we have been working on it. And in um, July, on the 12th, I think it was, I went to the dentist for the first time in 12 years. 12 years. The only other time I went to the dentist was for an emergency extraction while I was pregnant. And the doctor was like, you absolutely have to get this done. And they sedated me with liquid Valium because I was 6 months pregnant. They said they could do this at this one period of time. And that's what they did. And I manned up and did it, but I had a straight panic attack and had to go straight to the emergency room afterwards. So fun times for me. But EMDR therapy is there are different techniques, but the most common is a light bar. You watch this light go back and forth, and then you discuss something that triggers you. You feel the sensations.
Oh, I remember seeing a video on that several years ago. That was amazing.
It's amazing. You can literally get a brain scan of your brain done before this therapy starts. I see a neurologist, so I happen to have a brain scan because I have, cluster headaches.
I want one. They really do that. I was not to interrupt you, but I'm looking up
EMDR.
It says eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Oh my God, I cannot talk. Reprocessing therapy, commonly known as EMDR, is a mental health therapy method. It treats mental health conditions that happen because of memories from traumatic events in your past. It's best known for its role in treating post-traumatic stress disorder, but its use is expanding to include treatment of many other conditions. And then I was reading it and I was like, dude, why didn't my therapist recommend this for borderline personality disorder? They just told me I needed to do CBT and DBT therapy, but this right here is absolutely what I need. And there's an office not very far from where I am, and so
Well, you can do that. I'm just going to be lighthearted for a minute because I think you should do that. But you could also do what Jariah said and go pee on the sidewalk. Assert your dominance.
I'm gonna do that tonight. Okay, don't tell me.
Dude, seriously, your funny story.
I'm
A good
sorry,
friend
we
of mine,
needed a
Katie,
little
did
break,
that.
and that was hilarious. So
My friend Katie, who's gone from us now, once upon a time had a cheating boyfriend. She made me drive. She called me. I was in college. I had classes in the morning. Called me to come and pick her up from the bar. I was like, girl, this better be good. So she's like, drive me to Dave's house. She peed in this dude's fountain. I kid you not. She peed in
Yes.
his fountain. I was like, what are you doing? She was like, honk the horn. I was like, absolutely not.
She peed in the fountain and wanted you to honk the horn so he would come
Yeah,
out.
he saw her. He totally saw her, and he was like, I'm calling the police. So she flipped him off and got in my car, and we left.
seriously, though, I have seen a video or two on it, and it is amazing how that works.
I can personally attest to the fact that for me, I have had excellent results. Man, I just cannot. I was really skeptical. Like I said, I've been doing it a year and a half. Sorry about my air conditioner, super loud. I've been doing it for a year and a half. I was physically unable to walk into a dental office of any sort because I had extreme panic attacks, and I cannot tell you how insanely proud I was when I went in there and I got x-rays done and I let this man lay me back in the chair. That's a really big trigger right there, laying back in that chair. Ooh, I'm telling you, woo, it still makes me nervous. But I am also, like I said, weekly dedicated therapy here. Still working on it because this dentist that I'm seeing, phenomenal guy, Brian, he has taken the utmost care to ensure that I have a safe environment. There are only 2 nurses that did not give me like the panicky feeling when they were talking to me. And I got through that. That just the exam itself was a huge win for me. And I also I scheduled my appointments out for January, because I've coordinated all this with my therapist with my EMDR therapy schedule, because I want to do 6-week treatments, give myself a break to try to, get stable where I'm at, really, feel where my triggers have started to become less triggering and actually grow within the treatment that I've set, the pace I've set for myself.
Right.
You could do it faster, you could do it slower, but I've had phenomenal results. I am very confident. My appointments in January are 4 consecutive weeks. And I am so confident in this treatment that I would recommend it to anyone that is struggling with panic attacks, PTSD, nightmares, borderline personality disorder. It's been really, really coming up in the medical journals lately about this treatment. And just making sure that you're making sure you're meeting your own needs. If you're seeing a therapist and she's just a clinical therapist, she is just like going to a primary care physician. So if you have Crohn's disease and you go to your primary care physician, they're not adequately able to treat you. They can probably prescribe the medications, but they're not going to actually be able to treat long-term the condition that you have. You'll have to go to a specialist.
Right.
So when you're talking about something as complex as post-traumatic stress disorder and trauma that you need healed, you really need to find a specialist that deals with trauma patients.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And there's a lot of things that are considered pseudoscience that now they're finding really, really does work. And when I saw this therapy, I thought, wow, that was really cool and all, but you didn't hear about it. In fact, you're the first one I've ever heard mention it since I've watched that. And I'm glad it's starting to get in the mainstream. I think it would really be beneficial to you, Christy.
Oh yes, and and you can honestly check out. There's some videos that you can look at, that like some of the meditation videos and stuff that do sort of offer like what it would be like if you were to receive this treatment. But unless you have a real person there, because it's not just the lights. So I'll explain a little bit about my first few sessions. It was establishing a connection with your physical body and the reactions that you have. That sounds super easy, but it's not. Like people that have lived with
to me.
So like when you close your eyes and you think about driving past this place, where do you feel it in your body? Is it a reaction in your chest? Do you feel heaviness in your hands? Is there warmth across your face? These things really matter because along the progress of your treatment, you're going to start to immediately recognize, because you're connecting to your physical body's reactions consciously, that this is what is happening, and I am skilled enough to counteract this trigger. You're programming your brain just like you would your muscles with memory, like riding a bike. You ride the bike, you know where to hit the brakes. Driving the same back roads over and over, you get a muscle memory for these curves, And as long as you drive the same speed every time, you're very unlikely to have an unfortunate accident unless somebody else hits you. You know what I'm saying? So that's what this is doing to your brain. It is training your brain that when you feel the need to hit the brakes, your body naturally does that. And it is such a phenomenal therapy. And you just need to be open and really try to invest in the actual program that is designed. You will do tapping on your hands to your legs, tapping your fingers or rocking. It's just something that connects you to the physicality and whatever works for you. Everybody moves and does their growth at a different pace, but if you're willing to give it a try, I highly recommend it.
I just messaged my doctor and asked him about it.
Because I know for a fact there is no way in my life, if you would have asked me a year or two ago, are you going to go to the dentist after getting, abscess after abscess after abscess for an impacted wisdom tooth? I would never have been like, yes, I'm going to go. Now I'm like, yes, I am about to get my teeth fixed.
Well, I tell you, I had a different experience with the dentist, but and I'm not going to go into it, but basically he would drill on one side and work on the other, and a different but still the same trauma thing. And I'm 60 years old and just now really getting my teeth fixed because I found a place that I can honestly relax. And it's hard. I mean, it's crazy, especially, it's enough stress to go to the dentist in the first place, let alone when you have something else happen. I can't imagine going through, I mean, it was still abuse. It was just a different type of abuse,
Oh
but
yeah,
8 years
no.
old, it sticks in your head every time,
The scars that are left there's no and this is something my therapist some other thing that I was having to work on. This is why trauma therapy is the best. Highly recommend it. So when you've suffered trauma, we often have a tendency to try to minimize ourselves because we know there's somebody else out there that's had it worse. No, your trauma is your trauma. It doesn't matter if it was you touched the stove and your mother yelled at you. If that affected you in a traumatic way, it is no less significant than being abused, at the hands of someone that is supposed to be a care provider.
Right.
A safe place.
And yes, it literally marks your brain in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
There's no lesser or bigger trauma, and that's something that victims of domestic abuse do tell themselves, like, this isn't as bad as XYZ. I just got to do better. I can fix this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll minimize what's going on and what's happening because it is trauma.
I do the same thing. I downplay myself. And I think the reason why I try to help others is because I do feel like they're, going through more
They're
than
more worthy
yeah.
because somebody wasn't there to save you.
Exactly, Angela. Exactly.
Yes. And that is, it's literally like, I wish I knew the name of this book. My therapist gave me a book, and it is it's such a good book. Okay, you could give it to a small kid, and they would be able to look at the pictures, and it's done with pictures and visualizations and words that are easily understood for anybody, and it really explains what happens to you when you experience trauma with your window of tolerance. You start to function between the low and the high. The high is when you're fighting and you're escaping, by trying to bounce back and looking manic and looking crazy because they've triggered you. And then when you realize, hey, they've triggered me, and you still can't find yourself in the window of tolerance, you close in on yourself, you shut down, you start inverting on yourself. Both of these places are, are extremes because your window of tolerance minimizes to a straight line. The window of tolerance is where you have boundaries, where you're allowed to express your feelings and acknowledge how that makes you feel, but not get triggered, not want to run away, not want to fight or flight. And these things are, there is a way to heal it. You just, like I said, these resources, this is something else that I would love for, like in Avriel's name, like not just the getting out part, not just how to identify abuse. People need to learn that after you do get out, you have to heal this thing. And
Yeah.
that there are programs, there are resources, there are therapies that people just don't know about. And that, how is that fair? You deserve better mental health just like I do. Why is it that because I went to a certain doctor that was like, hey, I'm not adequate enough to treat you, but my colleague is? That, and I was given, a tool that other people don't have instantaneous knowledge of? That's not fair. Everybody deserves a voice. They deserve to know the resources available to them, and they deserve to have the support and care of people around them that recognize where they're at and what they're going through.
Yep. And a lot of people don't have that at all. Like, I know I didn't. And everything that you just said, both of the things that you just talked about, describes me. And I just like put my head down when you said that, because I feel like you think that I came into your life and helped you and everything like that, but I feel like I feel the same thing. Like explaining all this, and it's like hitting me right where it's supposed to, I guess. And I'm just like, I'm
And I'm
thankful
sitting on the
that you're
sidelines here
telling
saying
me all
God
of this.
put you two together for a reason. That's for sure.
Yes, I believe those things. Like, I really believe,
I do
you
too.
know, there are reasons that even in great tragedy, I said earlier about my family, in great tragedy, you find great love. God took Avriel away, but gave such a gift to so many people that are going to find connectivity through this story. Just the awareness that it's going to bring to the case, the awareness it's going to bring to my family as a whole, the need to all be together for this baby, and honestly, the justice is, this is a big ripple in the ocean, not a pond, not a lake. We're part of something big. And I said, I knew from the beginning that this was not going to be over quickly. And, it's not. And then these ripples create ripple upon ripple. And there is always, just like Avriel said, a silver lining to things. There's going to be something good to come of this. You can't lose somebody so special that brings so many people together and not expect a million more lights to light up the sky where hers went out.
Hers didn't go out. It's just not as bright anymore. It didn't go out because she's still gonna be she's never gonna be forgotten, and she has a son.
I believe when, so like if I was making a metaphor, I believe when your physical body dies, it's like a light bulb has gone out. But in place of that, you get the eternal flame.
Mm-hmm.
That's a light nobody gets to put out. That is your soul's presence in a better place. It's back where it started from. It's back to the source. It's back to the root of all energy, whatever you believe in. Because, like I said, I don't shade on anybody's religion. My personal belief is if your religion guides you to lead a good and just life, I support you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's God, if it's Buddha, but you doing all the good and all the right and living the best life you can live, do what you do. But I believe that at the base of things, there is a creation point in this world, whether you want to call it God, whether you call it Buddha, whatever, that we all belong to. The same energy, it restores somewhere in this grand design of things. And these things are connected. On my Facebook page, I wrote a quote that came from a poem I wrote in seventh grade. And it says, "A series of moments in motion. What a divine idea." And I believe that is what our lives are. We are all pieces of the whole, and we're set in motion.
That is beautiful.
Seventh grade, dude. I didn't even win first prize for that. I was runner up.
Hey, Avery.
Hi, Avery.
She's like, I'm late. I say 3 hours late.
Holy
I
the
slept
cheesy.
I think Angela was here before I was.
Girl, I was here and then I backed out and then I came back and then I backed out and then I came back.
I
But,
made it
so my mom's father was in the Marines, Avriel's great grandfather, Rex. Well, she actually has a couple of great grandfathers. So one of them. The other generation ahead of us is really outliving us. I mean, my grandmother, my grandfather, and my step grandfather they're all up. Like, what in the world? What are y'all eating? Tell me, because I thought we were eating the same things. Grew up the same recipes. But he was a Marine, so my mom was, she had a lot of like routines and habits. So I have this horrible habit of always being like 15 minutes early because my mother said if you're on time, you're late because you didn't make time for any inconveniences along the way.
Exactly. That's me too.
If you don't make 50, at least 15 minutes,
Then I'm late.
then I'm late. And it
I'm
is
late.
so
Always.
ingrained. Look, I have a friend that I swear, God bless her little heart. God bless her little heart because she's going to be a day late to her own funeral. I promise you that.
That be my sister. I
Shut
used to have to tell her we'd have to be someplace an hour earlier than we had to be, and hopefully I would be on time.
Look, if you want Nikki to be there on time, Nikki, I swear, if you are on this, she might get on this later and listen to the whole 3 hours. Because she's one of my best friends. But look, if you want her to be on time, you better tell her 3 days prior to the event that it is that day. And then 3 days later, she's going to show up. She's going to show up to apologize that she missed it.
Yep, that's my mom and my sister. All right.
Lord, I love her to death. Like it's so bad that if I want to do something with her, I just go and pick her up and help her get ready to go, and then just make it a spontaneous day date.
Yeah.
You're just gonna have to come with me. I'm kidnapping you today. We don't even make plans. I just kidnap her.
Hello, Mr. Malloy.
I would be late for my own funeral just because I wouldn't want to go.
Hello, everyone. Just saying hi. Hello. Great to see you all. I'm sorry about the sad news about Avriel Hooks. I know God is going to take care of her.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Love those headphones.
Oh, thank you. They bump really good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm serious. They bump really good. Oh, and I'd like to thank Sweet Misery because she's my new co-hostess, and I couldn't have picked a better person to co-host my show. So, guys, check me out because she does a great job.
I'm not his co-host, y'all.
Yeah, you're my co-hostess. Actually, co-hostess. There we go. So
You know why he says
she's a
that,
great
guys?
person.
He
What?
says I look like some Fox News lady.
Oh yeah, she looks like she looks like Kennedy on Fox News.
I don't.
Yeah.
I try really hard not to watch the news unless it's on my phone because I don't have cable. Because it's literally the only way to get my children to stay playing outside.
That's awesome. I was saying that the other day. I never see kids playing outside anymore. And they never drink out of the water faucet, the spigot outside, the water hose. They always have to have bottled water. You know how expensive that is?
It's
Drink out of the
expensive.
water hose.
Thank you for putting my name up there. I really appreciate that.
You're
But
welcome.
I really believe that I've known you guys in the pre life, the pre mortal life that we've lived. I really believe that I've known you, all of you, everyone I've come in contact with. I know, and when we die, I'll be able to see you guys again. When we all die, I'll see you guys again because you guys are great.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. I just saying.
Well, Sweet Misery, Lady B, Michael Mallory, I am definitely going to have to get off here. It's like 10, 11 my time.
Oh,
It
I need to
was
eat.
nice meeting you, Angela.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you so much.
And
I've enjoyed.
God bless you and your family and relatives and
Yeah,
friends.
I've really enjoyed listening to you too, and yeah, I really believe God has a plan, and
Yes.
it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that bad things don't happen to wonderful people, unfortunately. But
Exactly. But,
Angela,
you
I
know,
feel like you helped me more than I've ever helped you.
that's funny. No, I feel it's an equal exchange.
anyway,
Okay,
you're
I'll
in
go
my
back.
thoughts and prayers, and I'm going to jump down so Christy can have an alone goodbye with you. But we're here for you. We're praying for you, and we're
Thank,
praying for that baby.
God
thank you
bless
so
you,
much.
Angela, and your family and
God
relatives
bless
and
you all.
friends. God
Love
bless.
you guys.
Bye bye.
Love you too.
Before we go, I
Take
want
care.
to just play this little video that I had quickly made and showed you
Oh,
for
yeah.
April with the baby. So I want it's only a minute, guys. So I just want to play that before we leave, and then I'll end it. Thank you, Angela, for coming up again and just remembering Avriel's life and letting us know what type of person she was and her baby. And we will never forget her, and the rest of the world will never forget her. I promise you that.
Thank you so much. You don't even understand how much you really have helped. I I can't thank you enough. Um, it's a blessing. It's truly a blessing in a time of great grief.
What gives me